All right, guys, there has been plenty of remakes and redos of movies over the past couple years where we take, classic franchises or flicks and turn them into modern retellings. What more modern movie would you like to see maybe remade as an old 50s, 60s, or 70s style demake?
I've got it.
Okay.
It came to me really easily.
I thought that was the movie. It came to me. And I was like, I don't know that one.
It's a deep cut. Scream. I would like to see Scream done in the Italian giallo style. Dario Argento's my big Italian
screaming
movie.
Name one other Italian horror person right now. Go.
Fulci.
There you go. Okay, I'm glad you got the two that are known. Awesome. I can see that. That actually would work really well.
Think about all the oversaturation of the colors, I think all the crazy camera work. We'll just have a plot that you can barely understand, like all giallo movies.
He's got a lot of slashing and stuff in his movies too.
And it's going to be Billy Loomis's florist and his 11 kids. So we're going to have 12 Ghostface this time. All right. And we're not going to do just one at a time. Oh, is it just one guy pretending, 3 people pretending to be one? No, we're getting multiple stabs at a time. 4 Ghostfaces on screen. Good luck now, Gail, making bad decisions.
Oh, it's like a squad of Ghostfaces. Yes. I like it.
And at the very end, we're going to have a nice Suspiria style dance ballet resurrection of Billy Loomis. And he comes back and he's a literal Ghostface.
He said nice Suspiria ballet as if that Suspiria ballet was worth it.
It was good. Come on. It was
good, yeah.
I actually really like the remake, so I got no to talk.
Technically fine,
Yeah. So that's my idea. I think it would work perfectly.
That's really good. I didn't even go down that route, but I like that.
Yeah.
Well, we got a guest on the... hold on, let me introduce you.
Okay.
Jesus Christ, stop talking, Leroy.
This is a podcast, no talking.
We have a guest on the podcast again. It's becoming more of a regular thing, but we have back on the podcast, Leroy! That's it, I got it. Leroy, what's up, man? Welcome back, dude.
I know, I'm back after a whole pandemic, y'all. It's been like, I've not only just been through a pandemic and not been here, I've got 2 kids now. Last time I was here, I was driving a hatchback. Now I'm driving a hybrid minivan.
What's a fortnight? How long is a fortnight? Has it been longer than that?
Yeah. Are they your kids or did you steal them?
They are my kids. Okay, I'm pretty sure we haven't gone on more yet or anything like that. We can't go on Springer because he's dead now. R.I.P.
Yeah.
Rest in power, King.
Jerry.
But this is Leroy that you're hearing, and
Did you just introduce yourself?
I just introduced myself again. Yeah.
Bro,
I kind of like his version.
It's been a while.
I gotta give myself, gotta give him options. When he edits this.
As you guys may or may not know, I'm Michael Scott.
So I don't know why my mind couldn't get past this one, but I was thinking about one movie that would probably be a controversial remake or demake, I guess, in this instance, but would be fun to watch. Would be Hereditary, and work with me here.
Okay.
I'm thinking Hereditary.
You're gonna have to if we're using Hereditary.
I know.
Boom.
But like yeah. I also picked it because Garrett hates it. That's why. No, I picked choice. It because I think it'd be interesting to see Hereditary done like a Polanski kind of way, like a Rosemary's Baby. Really high drama.
Even slower burn.
Exactly. And I feel like it kind of lends itself easily to that kind of atmosphere where it's like maybe gothic horror of some kind.
Okay. Yeah, like The Witch, but even slower.
Yeah, slower
and
than The Witch. And
yeah.
everything happens in like last 5 minutes.
Hold on. I get bullshit for Hereditary, but John has had a hard-on for The Witch for like 4 seasons of this podcast
that movie
now.
Sucks.
Oh, man.
No one's busting his balls.
That's a great movie though, man. No, but seriously, I for some reason I can't, my mind can't get past the idea of like, it'd be kind of interesting to see Hereditary done in this old 70s fashion. Even
I think
slower
the styles
burn.
work really well. I think I think if you're going to do anything with Hereditary, that's probably one of the only ways you could do it and make it not seem like you're going for something stupid and campy.
Exactly.
I would actually love to see that end scene inside of the treehouse.
Yeah.
With all the cultists in there. That would be really cool in the Polanski style.
So someone fire up Mid-Journey and like just shove it in there.
We don't support AI on this podcast. Get the fuck out of here with that shit.
That's a good one, man. That translates really well, I think.
I think it would, yeah.
This is a good cold open.
Yeah.
I'm liking this. John.
Don't worry, I'm here to bring it way down.
Don't worry, I'll bring it way up.
Okay, good. Right. I had a really hard time with this and didn't come up with my movie till about 5 seconds ago. But then it came to me like that. Top Gun. In a 50s style, I would love to see a World War II with the Spitfires and the Mustangs. That'd be awesome.
So you just want a 50s war movie?
Hell yeah, but in the Top Gun fashion, right? Where they have
what
to
is
go
the Top Gun fashion?
Okay, great. Lots of music that is very bassy and makes you want to drive a motorcycle.
So we're probably doing doo-wop in this one.
Oh, it'd have to be something like that, yeah, or like a real big band swing.
Goose, Iceman, and Maverick are in a doo-wop band in their spare time. Instead of playing volleyball, they just basically go to the malt shop and do a little doo-wop.
Yes.
Love it. Yeah. So, things like that. Lots and lots of planes. That's really the main thing. The actual story doesn't matter. It can just be Star Wars. And
Is it jet fighter still, or is it like biplanes?
that have to be propeller planes.
Okay.
The in between. We're past biplanes in World War II, but we haven't got to jet fighters yet.
Tora. Is that the one?
Yeah.
That old
Yeah.
war from, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be similar, but better.
I
The
feel like
Tora is fine.
for the film nerds, you want like Top Gun with Kenneth Unger directing is what it sounds like. Like
I don't know who that
Scorpio
is, but
Rising.
yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I said film nerd.
Ladies and gentlemen, Leroy's back.
So there's I can't believe it took me so long to come up with. In fact, just Top Gun Generations. So then then we get like a Vietnam War one that could be real 70s, and obviously they're disillusioned. But they got to come back for one more mission.
Do you have a name for this?
Yeah, Top Gun.
What about-
50s?
What about First Gun?
Oh, First Gun.
First Gun,
Bro,
there we
that's why
go.
you're the brains here.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
Would it still be Russia, or would it be a different country where that they're doing
They'd be
that?
fighting the Germans in
It'd be-
World War
it'd be
II.
Nazis, yeah.
Yeah.
You said 50s. So we're past that.
What's it be in the 50s style of a World War II movie? Because that's when they started.
Yes, Ferdinand is on the loose, so we need you to stop him.
So, because that's when they made all their.
I hate to break it to you, Mark. Nazis didn't stop existing after World War II.
What? We solved the Nazi problem. They're
Yeah.
not around anymore.
secret Antarctic base
There you
that
go.
they have to go take out, where Hitler too is being
too.
is being
This
grown.
is part of the rap conspiracy iceberg. If you
Yeah.
haven't seen
What
it.
about Hitler Jr.?
Hitler, HJ. Yeah.
And once again, it falls on me to bring this podcast back to actually talking what we're supposed to talk about. Okay, so here's my choice. I actually had two that I couldn't really decide from at first, but I think I'm going to go with redoing The Lost Boys in a 50s style kind of Rebel Without a Cause,
Yep,
kind of
there we
feel.
go.
You got your beatnik style kind of thing. The kids are, troublemakers around town, getting into like petty thefts, really just kind of the same feel of Lost Boys, but just really take it back to that old, black and white 50s kind of nostalgia. That would be really fun, I think, because the characters are also kind of sort of campy and,
Yep.
they think they're cool. And we saw that all the time in the 50s, bad boy characters and stuff like that.
You can make like On the Road, but as everyone's vampires. Kerouac's a vampire. Like everyone's just a vampire.
Different decade.
I was gonna say,
but I
yeah.
like what you're going with.
Before you move on to your next one, now the only thing I really want to see, and I know it's not the same time period,
Is
but
Top Gun mixed with Lost Boys?
is a vampire Henry Winkler,
Oh man,
like a
That would be
vampire
awesome.
Fonzie.
Yeah.
A
Okay.
Dick Van Dyke vampire dad.
Yeah,
There you
like
go.
that.
We get,
Dracula Dead and Loving It with Henry Winkler.
Yes.
back then.
yeah, I like it.
Great.
The other one I thought of was maybe like a Blair Witch done in like the psychedelic 60s style because they're in the woods. You can get like maybe they're doing drugs and you get a little like kind of that real, just kind of trippy, like, wow, what is real, what isn't?
Yep.
That definitely kind of falls into your Suspiria kind of time frame.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but
I just imagine someone having to rotate like their little handle as they're filming in the woods the whole time.
Bring me another canister.
but I thought that might be an interesting idea. But I definitely would go with like the more 50s Lost Boys style.
I dig it. Well, once again, we're just a fountain of information and ideas.
Should we sing Hollywood Get At Us in the doo-wop style? Hollywood.
Not gonna happen.
The GraveTalk podcast.
Yeah, listen, there's nobody more tone deaf on planet Earth than me.
Hey, all you creatures from cyberspace. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the GraveTalk podcast. My name is Mark, again joined with Garrett and John, and we welcome back Leroy.
What's up, y'all?
How you guys been?
Exceptional.
Whoa, holy
Yeah,
fuck.
I know. Just coming out hot, doing great.
I can feel it. You're resonating
Thank
right
you.
now.
Yeah, well, it's just been beautiful weather. And
You guys wonder why I cut off the sleeves of my shirts. So I got to sit next to this guy right here.
Well, awesome. What have you guys been up to since last time? And Leroy, you've been gone a long time, so let's keep that last time maybe in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I'll tell you like a quick version of it. Last time I was here, I think we just bought our house. It's been a whole pandemic since I've been here.
Can we cue the 60 minutes?
Yeah, someone get a timer going. Yeah, I've got 2 kids now. I'm a dad, which is nuts.
Well,
to think about.
congratulations, my
Thanks.
friend.
Went to COVID with a baby and came out with 2 toddlers now. They're both 3.5 and 18 months for people who care. And Yeah, I came in last time with a hatchback, and now I've got a hybrid minivan. So the glow up's real.
Yeah, man. Growing up.
Is your house in the suburbs yet?
Oh yeah, it's been in the suburbs.
Okay, you were already there. Okay.
I was already there, and that's
Good deal.
And now we got kids in there.
The picket fence, white.
It's not a picket fence. It is a wood fence, though.
Okay,
there you
close
go. We
enough.
got
Yeah,
that. Yeah, we are in the country. This is Texas, after all.
Pine, oak,
Pine.
cedar. What are we talking here?
It's all three.
Welcome back to Fence Talk.
Well, if you need help painting it white, John is ready.
Yeah, there you go.
Am I?
He's ready to whitewash your neighborhood.
Yeah.
But outside of that, yeah, I've been pretty good. I mean, again, pandemic with kids is kind of hard. We've all been through it. But otherwise, I'm still here, still standing. Have not gotten COVID as far as I know the whole time. So,
Well done.
few. Thanks.
We'll see if we can change that.
You're a rare breed, sir.
Yeah, I know. And yeah, so it's been nuts, but glad to be here.
Have you watched anything recently that you would recommend?
I literally
If you
made
had to
a
pick
list.
3 things that you would like to talk about briefly,
Actually, I'm going to recommend Beyond the Infinite in 2 Minutes, just because it's a genre film, it's a sci-fi film. Probably not a lot of people have seen it or heard of it, but it's a Japanese movie, and the whole premise is some dude's living above a cafe. He's got a camera set up, and he notices that his camera looks 2 minutes into the future when he views it through a monitor. And then the whole movie is literally just that premise. It's kind of like a Twilight Zone episode, but a little longer.
where was this on? I think I've seen this.
I have no idea what it's been on, but I know you can find it on Tubi
I
right now.
swear to God, I've seen this movie.
Yeah.
It came out a little while ago, didn't it?
It came out a while ago.
Yeah, okay.
It's still kind of fairly new, so newer than when I was last on here.
Yeah,
But it's
someone
probably-
recommended this to me, and it was actually pretty decent.
Yeah,
That sounds almost as good as the early edition.
Love that show.
Where's
Great.
the man that gets the newspaper a
that's
day
right.
early?
Yeah, there you go. So it's kind of like that, but it's a lot of fun.
That's a deep cut.
There was a nice cat on
We
that
all
show,
caught
right?
that cut though. That's
Yeah.
the thing. Yeah, that one I'm going to recommend. Let's see here. Soylent Green, even though it's an old movie.
Hell yeah, Soylent Green.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know.
Spoilers, John.
It's people.
There you go.
It's people, but I'm gonna recommend that just because it's like it kind of hit different in a pandemic when you're watching it, and it's like, oh yeah, climate change.
I think a lot of those movies hit differently now,
Yeah.
especially any of the virus-based ones.
anything virus based, anything like anything
Yeah.
like that.
Definitely
And-
can't go. People would never be that dumb because turns out, yes.
Yes, they can.
They'll be very pro pandemic people, like pro virus.
And I'll also top it off with because I don't know if you all have mentioned this one. Maybe you have. I think it'd be a fun one to watch. Actually, maybe you might have mentioned it, Mark. One Cut of the Dead, a really fun zombie film. I guess these are all kind of like everything I'm recommending is some sort of weird mess with your head kind of idea movie. And
One cut was really cool. I had to give it 2 watches because I didn't get it to the end.
see, that's the thing is you watch movies part at a time, right?
True, but I actually gave up on it.
Yeah,
and I was like, no,
exactly.
hold on, I'm going to go back and give it the chance. You have to stick to the end for it all to make sense.
Exactly. This is one of the movies you have to actually sit and watch. So I was funny to me because it's like you watch movies partly at a time. So knowing that like you probably cut it off at like the worst possible time to cut it off.
Absolutely. Yes, I watch movies in 25 to 30 minute bursts.
Yep.
Like TV shows.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
time for another episode.
The problem is that this movie changes every 25 to 30 minutes. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
like, it's kind
Yeah.
of funny.
It's really good. You should give it a chance. I think it's still on Shudder.
Yeah. I'll actually make one more recommendation. This is not a horror film, but because of the way you watch movies.
As a reminder, Leroy can't count, folks.
I know. Yeah, exactly. We watched Lord of the Rings, the extended versions, but if you go online, there's people who recommend watching it like a TV show where you cut it up in like hour. It surprisingly lends itself into hour increments.
Okay.
And
Can we make our own little last time on the Lord of the Rings?
you totally
course,
can.
yeah.
And
Y'all
it's
are
shockingly-
monsters. Cutting these movies into pieces. Enjoy the
It
experience.
actually shockingly works really well because it makes you appreciate it more when you're like, oh man, like suddenly like every little detail that comes back and everything from like in the third film that was in the first film. I don't know everything about
I
it.
believe it because like
I also have kids, so the luxury of watching
Yeah,
a
no, I
3-hour
got you.
movie.
I got you. Hey, it's not my problem. You fucked
Yeah.
up.
at 3 hours, I don't give a shit about the ending of Return
Yeah.
of the King. I'm like, all right, enough with the hugs. All right.
TikTok has ruined y'all.
I didn't look. I was the guy who stood up at the first fake ending of Return of the King. All right, and that was 2005
out.
or whatever.
Like, I'm assuming the Hobbits made it back. I don't fucking care.
What movie ends with 5 fades? A Peter Jackson one. That's
Yes.
which one?
Well, I do definitely own the extended cut on Blu-ray, so I'll give that a shot next time I watch it.
It's fun. It's fun to watch it that way. Trust me.
All right. John?
I've watched nothing.
Good. Leroy watched a lot for us. Garrett?
I actually started the Resident Evil 4 remake, or the remake game on PS4.
Oh, nice.
So I was up till 7 a.m. playing that last night.
And you've gone on record saying that you're not a big fan of 4, so what do you think of the remake?
Well, I had to watch The Blob after doing that. So I was up till about 9 a.m. this morning. So I'm on like 4 hours of sleep, you guys. Obviously good enough to keep me playing until like 7 a.m. It's scarier than I remember. It's got a lot more jump scares than I remember. I can't stand Leon Kennedy as a main character. So annoying. If you wanted to put Keanu Reeves in your video game, just ask Keanu Reeves to be in your video game.
Well, when that came out, he was probably a lot more expensive.
That's
than
what I'm
he is now.
saying. But like, I do like Leon's the way he talks about situations a lot more realistic than like Jill or Chris, who are like, man, we got to do something about this, and Leon's like, fuck, that's messed up, and I'm like, agreed.
Yeah.
Game handles really well. I'm really happy. I haven't touched it since GameCube, so I'm really enjoying the experience again. I've done that. Also went back and finished up that Chucky series on Sci-Fi.
I need to get back to that.
Guess it's not on Sci-Fi
USA.
anymore, but USA, there you go. It's still pretty good. It's fun. It's definitely kind of leaning into more of like, wouldn't it be cool if ... which I think TV shows need to kind of sometimes steer back from a little bit. But this week, though, Mark.
This week?
Oh, wait, we're not doing weekly. We do bi-weekly.
Yeah,
This episode.
This episode.
Installment.
Ooh, installment. I like that.
Okay,
That sounds
installment.
classy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You can also listen to our podcast in small chunks if you want to listen 10 minutes at a time. It's recommended that way. You appreciate the details.
Almost certainly that's how people listen to podcasts, so I hope so.
John, what are we doing on this installment of the GraveTalk podcast?
The Blob, which
From?
was my nickname.
Did you know David Harbour auditioned to be the Blob in the X-Men movie?
Did he really?
Yeah. He walked in. So if the stories would be true, he walked in. He put on a bunch of weight, and he walked in and was like, I got your Blob right here, and lifted up his shirt and jiggled his belly, supposedly. And they were like, he's too big for the role because he had to fit in prosthetics or something like that, so he didn't get the role.
Wow.
Was this in the 2000 one?
I think it was in the later ones whenever they
Okay.
brought him in for like the...
It was 3.
Yeah.
It's too blobby to be the Blob.
I didn't know David Harbour was in. Was he in anything?
I don't know if he was in it, but he didn't get the
Yeah,
role.
okay.
He auditioned, though.
That's incredible. That's a great audition. From 1988, to go back to your question.
That's how John auditions for jobs. I guess interviews is the
Yes.
proper word there.
Look, if they don't handle me at my jiggling stomach, they don't get me at my shirtless Tuesdays. So
Your loss, America.
All right. I think this episode's over now.
yeah,
Some HR group is just sighing in relief right now. Like, oh my God.
dodge that bullet.
So 1988's The Blob, right? Oh, wait, did you say 88?
Yeah.
Yeah. 88.
Oh, I don't know why I thought it was 83.
It was a good year for hip hop, good year for movies, too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. 1988. This one was directed by Chuck Russell. You may know him from other movies as The Scorpion King,
The greatest of the Mummy movies.
Eraser,
Okay.
The Mask, starring Jim Carrey.
Wow, man, talk about 180.
And John, he directed one of your favorite movies ever.
Top Gun.
Well, close. The other one, Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Dream Warriors.
Correct.
Yeah, the best of the franchise. So good job, dude.
This was.
Good job, dude.
Let's find him on Twitter and just say that, and no other context. This also has the screenplay credits of Frank Darabont. We've mentioned him several times now. He worked on The Mist, and he also was part of the screenwriting credits for Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Yeah, and Shawshank Redemption. Right?
A few characters from Green Mile and The Mist make a return to this movie. So I think these people kind of work with some of the same crew.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a Wes Anderson situation, but it's definitely like the sheriff in this was from The Mist.
the Mist, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Chuck Russell brings people. He's one of those guys who brings people with him.
I like that. The Russellverse.
The Russellverse. Yeah.
Jeffrey DeMunn is specifically the one you're talking about, Garrett. He's also Dale in The Walking Dead.
Yep.
Which we mentioned
Oh,
on
that's
The Mist.
right. He is
Yeah.
that.
Which Darabont, I think, has done a lot of work for.
This one stars Kevin Dillon, not to be mistaken with his brother Matt Dillon.
They looked very much alike at this age.
Or
Yes.
the Marvel Punisher artist Steve Dillon.
Are they related?
I have no idea.
All the Dillons are
But
related.
you know I'm going to talk about comics.
Or Bob Dylan.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Different spelling, but
Yeah.
That's
sure.
because he wanted to break out and do his own thing. So I get it.
Yeah, yeah.
Kevin Dillon as Brian Flagg, Shawnee Smith as Meg Penny, Donovan Litch Jr. as Paul Taylor, Jeffrey DeMunn as Sheriff Herb Geller, Candy Clark as Fran Hewitt, Joe Seneca as Dr. Meadows, Del Close as Reverend Meeker. Leroy, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he star in the sequel to the original Blob?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was in Son of the Blob, yeah.
Is it called Son of the Blob?
Or not Son of the Blob, I'm sorry. Beware the Blob.
That's it, yeah.
I was
also
going to say Son
AKA
of the
no.
Blob. I was
Son
about to
of the
lose
Blob.
my mind if they named it that.
AKA Son of the Blob.
Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
has one of
Is it
those-
really?
It
I think
really
it's one of
is.
those AKs. I think when it was like re-released, or one of those things where they put it out again. As Son of the
That
Blob.
is insane to me. Wow. Who was Deputy Billy? Like, that guy's been in a few things.
Yes,
that
he's next on the list here. We've got Paul McCrane as Deputy Bill Braggs. He was in ER
And RoboCop.
and he was in RoboCop.
Yeah, that's what I recognized. I was like, is that dude the dude from RoboCop? I was like, how do I remember this?
He's the toxic waste dude who
Yes.
gets splattered by the car.
Okay.
And in this one, he gets cut in half or whatever.
We get sucked through that little window
That's right,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, he gets
Broken, I
in
guess.
half.
Yeah,
Broken in
folded, if you will.
Sharon Spellman as Mrs. Penny, Bo Billingsley as Moss Woodley, Art LaFleur as the pharmacist.
You're in the weeds now, man.
The pharmacist is an important character.
I have to. He's in so many things. Art LaFleur is one of those.
the
character
pharmacist, the
actors.
dad.
Yeah, the dad.
Okay.
Ribbed.
I was like, who the fuck is the pharmacist? And I was like,
he's
oh,
been in
it's the dad.
100 things.
Yes.
So if you see his face, you recognize
Yeah,
him.
he did great.
I did want to mention that one of the soldiers, he gets a name. He's like the only soldier name that the Dr. Meadows character talks to. His name's Jennings. His name is Robert Axelrod. He's the voice of Lord Zed in Power Rangers.
Yep.
I thought John might
What?
appreciate that.
He's also
Okay.
been in Tim and Eric a couple of times.
Correct. Yeah, he's done a lot of skits for them.
Yeah, he's a weird looking dude, so perfect.
Okay. He wasn't even in costume for Lord Zed, so
Well, he did the voice.
I know.
Currently on Rotten Tomatoes, this is at a 63% with critics and a 57% with the audience.
Interesting. I thought that would have been a little bit higher with the audience.
Same.
This movie was panned and flopped when it came out. Flopped like a giant pink thing onto a body that dissolved.
Okay. But
Wow, that was a real stretch there, buddy, but I like it.
I got there. It was-
Actually, there's a good reason it flopped. Not to interrupt you, but I mean,
No, this is going to happen throughout the whole podcast, I'm sure. So go ahead.
No, yeah. I mean, there's a good reason it flopped though, because it came out in like summer of '88, August '88, at the end of the summer. Here's what it was up against in theaters when it came out. Like, it was up against Cocktail, the
Tom
Scientology-
Cruise movie?
Yeah.
Tom Cruise
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Die Hard, Big, A Fish Called Wanda, Coming to America, and then shortly after Mac and Me. So, you know, it had competition.
I would put the Blob above Mac and Me a little bit. You know,
Well,
except
Coming
for-
to America didn't do great in the theaters either.
I don't think it did, but I mean, look at the competition. Like, all those
No,
theaters
yeah.
came out.
Roger Rabbit was a fucking storm,
Yeah.
man. You couldn't
That
get
must have
away
been
from
number
that
one.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on top
Cocktail
of
was
that,
huge because that was when
Yeah.
Tom Cruise was like sexiest man in America or some shit like
Yeah.
that because Top Gun had already come out, right?
Right, exactly.
yeah, in '86. Don't worry. I'll want to know about Top Gun. I'll break it.
Why do you think I was looking at you, John?
You're happy anytime we can bring up Top Gun, aren't you?
We need a Tom Cruise
like
fact
a pig
check.
and shit, man.
Yeah. And then on top of that, like, I think TriStar got bought out or something like that, and they basically, the producers or whoever was like CEO or managing TriStar didn't care to like promote anything coming out that they have no involvement in. So they had like zero promotion. So it's
Ow.
gonna fail.
That sucks. Well, that explains these numbers. It was made on a budget of $10 million and only brought in 8.2.
Oof.
So,
Well, if you don't advertise,
Yep.
yeah.
you can't stop Roger Rabbit, though.
No. Roger Rabbit was
Kneel
huge.
before the king.
Yeah. Or Coming to America. I can't believe that movie
It didn't do well.
flopped.
I mean, it did
That's
okay, but it was
incredible.
not like a successful hit as it was after it like came out to people.
That boy sure can sing.
Well, here's what the back of the VHS says about the Blob. More graphically realistic than ever.
Okay.
The Blob has returned in this horrific tale about a vile, malignant life form that crashes to Earth in a cozy rural American town
Malignant, nice.
called Arborville. Untroubled by conscience or intellect, man, that's what I say about myself. I'm usually untroubled by a lot of things. The Blob does only one thing, and it does it well. It eats anything and everything that moves. Men, women, children, clowns, doctors, boats, McDonald's.
McDonald's moves. Mm-hmm. I think you may have lost the thread you were pulling there.
All right, hold on. Grimace.
There you go.
Okay, I added a few. If you
You got me back.
And tonight it wants
Did you know
to.
the Grimace? I think we talked about this in the podcast. Did you know the Grimace is supposed to be a taste bud?
Is that what he is?
I
Yes.
thought it was just like some kind of monster.
No, if you look up on their official, like one of the CEOs or something like that officially said that he's a taste bud.
Well, that's
That's
fucking
fucked
weird.
up.
Yeah. I hope they're trolling us, but man, that's what they officially said.
Huh.
And tonight it wants to swallow Arborville whole. The original version of the Blob thrilled and terrified audiences back in the 50s. Now the oozing, gooey killer is back with a whole new high-tech 80s look. What
Got a
was
Swatch watch?
a slap bracelet?
Yeah.
What was once only suggested now comes to life in this visually gut-wrenching thriller in the tradition of such classic remakes as The Thing and The Fly.
Okay.
So,
Not The Shining, though.
well, that was...
I know.
mean-
You're right. Yeah, every VHS box has to compare itself
I'm about to
to.
say, we've made
Or
that
The
joke like 90
Exorcist.
times. You're going to look at me like I'm the crazy one for making it now.
Well, I was
Okay.
thinking, like, when did The Shining get remade?
In the 90s.
90s, yeah.
It's coming out in October, buddy.
Matt?
New Shining?
Yeah, dude, we talked about this multiple times.
dude.
It's the Shining this time.
I forget.
Oh, I'm sorry.
every
I'm sorry.
episode.
Exorcist. Did I say The Shining?
Yes.
Okay. The Exorcist. My bad.
Oh, yes. I'm well
Everything
aware
Did
of
I say The Shining
Exorcist.
earlier?
You did.
Yes.
Okay, I meant to say The Exorcist.
Why do you think I was confused?
Yeah, we were all
Okay,
shocked.
wow. You know what? I'm just a real asshole here.
No, you never.
Leroy, get the fuck out of our studio.
Perfect.
I meant that with sincerity, by the way. I know it didn't come off that way.
So Matt Brunson from Film Frenzy says, after Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Thing, The Fly demonstrated that classic 1950s fantasy flicks could be reconfigured in new and exciting ways. The Blob took a step backwards,
What?
offering gory effects but little else to absorb.
Oh, I gotta kind of agree with him on that.
I wanted to ask you guys, like, where would you put this in the 50s remakes? And Leroy, you're a fan of the original, so maybe you can help us with
So-
some of that detail on the original.
I had to look it up because I'm like, now when did the 80s Fly come out? Apparently 1980?
Oh,
That was
wow.
pretty early.
So 1980 and then,
That's Cronenberg, right?
yeah, and then 82 or 83 was The Thing, which is the other thing this gets compared to.
And Body Snatchers was in the 70s.
Yeah, yeah. And then this was 88 finally. So
And the Body Snatchers we did was the remake, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I'll say that, I mean, this is obviously the weakest of all of those, but I think it also had maybe the weakest, the premise is a blob that eats shit. Like, what more do you want? It's not like The Thing or or Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which has like this element of paranoia or this social commentary or whatever. I mean, it's the fucking Blob, man. Like, what do you expect out of this movie?
Now, Leroy, you watched the original 50s one, right?
Yeah, I've seen the original 50s one.
Is the same premise that we sent this thing into space and it came back with the...
no, that's actually new in this film.
Okay. So that's what I wanted to ask, because honestly, man, I hope this isn't controversial, but that's the only interesting thing in this movie for me. I love this movie. Fantastic time. But again, everything was so bare bones, so plain, so simplistic that I didn't give a shit about anybody.
Right.
I didn't really care about anything other than the movie. Like the government got involved and I was like, oh, okay, what's going to happen here? Where's the comeuppance for this? It doesn't really pay off. There's a lot of threads that go nowhere in this movie. So I can see why critics would catch on to that and kind of jump into it. Now, is it a delightful time with great effects that I had a good time with? Yeah. But man, it is threadbare.
What are these two kids supposed to do about the government creating biological weapons?
What are you willing to do about the government?
19-year-olds. Literally nothing except complain about it and go uselessly vote every couple
Well, are
of
they
years.
younger than 18? Because he said
They
to
are in high
flag,
school.
he was all like, after this, you're going to real jail, not juvie, boy.
Yeah,
and I
so-
was like, this guy's like 36.
Yeah, they were 80s teenagers, quote
Yeah,
unquote,
yeah.
for sure. But no, they're supposed to be in high school.
Well, the 50s is worse about that, where Steve McQueen's looking like 40 and he's supposed to play a high schooler.
They all smoked very
McQueen's
heavily.
in the original?
Steve McQueen's in the original.
That was his debut film, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
that was his debut film.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's funny because the 50s one's worse about it, but also the 50s in general is worse about that kind of stuff. So
the difference between the two is that is actually something from space, right? The Blob
Yes.
is an
So,
alien creature.
1958 Blob. It's just from space. We don't know anything about its history or what. It's just came from space, showed up, and that's it.
Okay. Is there any other differences, or does it kind of follow the same plot that we see here?
So it's funny because, I would say for the most part, they're pretty much different movies, except for the premise of it's a creature from space that eats people and just grows.
When did the original Star Trek movie come out?
That's a
with
great question.
V'ger, because
Oh,
that
it's
might just be a fucking bite on this.
was like
78,
79.
79.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is just kind of like, oh, that's a cool premise. Let's rock that.
Yeah, and the original 50s film is more about just these teenagers and adults not believing them. It's a very talky movie, so basically the whole movie's it's talking. The actual blob monster is 5 minutes of the film. So
This movie could have used a little more talking and character development.
which
in
is
my
funny
opinion.
because it's like the reverse with the original. And so I actually like the original, and then I like this one too, but it's funny because I feel like they're totally different movies. And I don't know if it's just because of the fact that, like John said, what do you do with something like this? It's you kind of just got to change everything.
Well, that was kind of like the original Thing versus
Yeah.
the Carpenter remake. They were
just changed the whole
worlds
thing.
apart, but it was the same kind of concept.
Right. Yeah. Which is great. I appreciate that in remakes. It's okay, they took the idea, but they did something different with
Yeah.
it.
I'll be honest, I'd be upset if this was not the government thing. If this was just it's an alien from outer space, I would be even more just kind of with this movie. But that really kind of brought me in. I like
Right.
that interplay between the characters when we'll get to it. But when that kind of played out, yeah.
You
Again,
probably would not like the original.
Yeah,
at
we
all.
are miles apart on this.
There's
wow.
there's a fun drag race scene, suddenly because it's 50s, you got a drag
50s,
race.
of course,
yeah.
So
I almost think it's a better story if it's just this is just a shitty thing that happens. I kind of like that sort of almost existential fear of you just be going about your life, do nothing wrong, and then get eaten by a blob.
And if I cared about the characters characters, yes, I would be okay with that concept as well. But again, there's no one in this movie that I literally gave a shit about.
I couldn't disagree more. I actually think these characters are perfect for the near perfect drive-in movie that this is. This is exactly what it set out to be. It's what you want to see, just a monster eating stuff on screen. Like John said, there's nothing really to it, and it's fine. It's perfect. I actually like Flag. I liked Brian's character.
You liked Brian Flag?
I absolutely did. I thought he was great.
He even had an arc. They managed to give a character an arc in this movie.
Again, he's the only one that was like halfway decent, but like when they forced the like love interest thing with him and Meg, I was like, get the fuck out of here.
That was surface level at
He jumps
best.
out of the car and he's like, a cheerleader, Brian? Really? Like, it's like, bro, like this. And when he's like, she's on the back of the motorcycle in the sewer and he puts her arms around him and he goes, yeah. And he like looks down and smiles and like tightens up. I was like, bro.
He's 17.
That took up 3 seconds of the hour and 34 minutes
let me
runtime.
break something down for you, John. If my life is in danger and a woman touches me, I'm not going to stop and be like, yeah, all right.
Well,
this is
it's not
way
like he
more
stopped
exciting.
and the movie spent 5 minutes. Like, you know,
He
like,
got off the motorbike and winked.
It doesn't
Celine
matter.
Dion plays in the
It
background.
doesn't
like,
matter if it's 5 seconds or 5 minutes. Again, it just felt so forced, and I really was not thrilled with some of the choices they made with some of the characters.
I absolutely love the fact that we were getting a little bit of chemistry with the waitress and the sheriff.
That was
very
I wanted that to go
subtle.
somewhere.
And they
That was
kill
fun.
them, and I'm like, fuck, no one's safe.
that I do like this movie. Like every person who you think is going to be the hero just ends up dead 15 minutes later.
You know what? You got to give it to this movie. If the Blob is introduced into a scene, half your cast is getting killed in that scene.
Oh,
Spoiler
definitely.
alert.
There's no spoil. I mean, that is like,
Yeah,
it's
gonna happen.
Crazy how many deaths were in this movie.
They kill a
you
kid.
told me about this because I've
Yeah.
never seen it as a kid. And I couldn't remember it. And Mark, you were like, oh, it's really, really gory. And I was like, I don't know about. Holy shit!
Yeah, man.
This does not play.
And they kill a kid.
Yeah, man.
all
Morally,
kids, though.
he pops back up like and
Yeah.
Right. So, interestingly, director Chuck Russell was working with Frank Darabont on this, and he originally wanted to make this before he went to work on Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 3. He started making a script and gave it to New Line, and they were like, well, we really don't give a shit about the Blob. Okay. But we love your writing style, so why don't you take this Wes Craven rough draft and give it a go? So
Interesting.
But we also do need to bring up the effects. I think for an 80s film, these effects hold up spectacularly.
Except for the green screen at the end.
Yeah.
That's the only moment
Yeah.
of this
Some of
movie
that
where I was like,
compositing.
oh, it is
Yeah.
the 80s.
Yeah.
But for the most part, yes. Like it's really, really good.
Do you have information on how this Blob was created?
I do.
Okay, good. Because the whole time, every time this thing came on screen, I was like, I want to know more. But like I said, it was also like
You can make your own
9
home.
a.m. and I was not going to research
Yeah.
how this is going.
So the man behind the effects team, who kind of managed the whole thing, was 23-year-old Tony Gardner. He lied about his age to get the job. He had worked on a few things beforehand: Michael Jackson's Thriller, Aliens, The Return of the Living Dead, Harry and the Hendersons, and The Lost Boys. He was part of that crew.
Okay.
So the Blob in this one is actually a parachute-like material with veins spray painted on it with a food thickening agent, and then they just tie it into like this kind of gelatinous bag.
I think it's supposed to be like silk, the material.
Yeah, like a silk parachute.
Well, it definitely
bag.
had like some silk look to it at
Yeah.
times, but I was like, that can't be silk. I mean,
It was, yeah.
okay.
That's how they did it, and I think it works really
yeah,
well.
it looked great.
Apparently, it's like a 200-pound like mass though, so it was really heavy.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, it was heavy. There was like scenes that they were going to film. There's like an infamous scene they were going to film where they had to fill a truck with like milk and food coloring and some of that stuff you're talking about. Unfortunately,
The
the
stuff,
truck.
if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's called
Unfortunately,
methyl cellulose is the thickening agent.
yeah.
Thank you. That's important information.
There was a leak, and apparently, like the truck, like leaked the whole thing overnight, so they couldn't film this one. There was going to be this big scene with Flag in like a truck or something. He'd be trapped in something, and all these skeletons that'd be half digested would be floating by on the windshield, kind of like in the phone booth a little bit.
Which is my favorite kill of the whole movie. That
Yes.
phone booth scene
Really?
was fantastic.
That's your favorite
Yes,
kill?
I loved it.
I like the first one. Paul's. That was
Okay,
my
that
favorite.
was really good, too.
Yeah.
Actually,
which one's
that was the
Paul's?
last one
He was
filmed.
the football player that just goes
The first guy who gets killed off.
in the doctor's office.
Oh, I thought that was the old man.
Well, he's technically the
technically,
first one,
yeah.
but like the first time you see the Blob kill someone is Paul.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And apparently that was like the big deal for them was filming that scene last because they wanted to make sure that like they had all the special effects figured out, all of the thing. Because the big deal for the special effects team was if we can make this first scene like top notch, then people will be like bought in the rest of the movie. And I think they're right because
Yeah.
honestly, it's an amazing scene.
And this movie really flows pretty well. You know what I mean? Like you get introduced to these characters, they get attacked by the Blob, the government shows up, and then there's still a very amazing final fight with this thing at the end. And at any point, I was like, okay, I'm starting to maybe my interest is going down a little bit, and then something happens. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm right back in. Let's go.
Oh, it's like a snow machine. All right, sign me up.
Leroy, do you have a favorite kill?
Oh man, that's tough. I'd say between Paul or the phone booth because both. I feel like the phone booth scene is the better scene to watch, but the that special effects scene with Paul and everything is great. You know, like that.
Yeah,
They did their work there, and they really brought you into the movie. It's pretty terrifying.
There's so many to choose from. I mean, the gal in the car that just goes,
Yep.
but her
That was
face
great.
effect was pretty weak.
Vicky?
yeah.
Vicky, okay. You know, my kill was actually not like super gory and you didn't really see the Blob in it, but it was my favorite kill in the whole thing is when Meadows gets killed.
Oh yeah, where the Blob comes out of the
Where
sewer
he
and
gets
grabs
pulled in
him.
the sewer and he has the gun and then it just rips him straight down and his face, the way it like just it goes up into his mask and just sucks
That's
him straight.
right.
Like that was so scary to me. I was like,
Yeah.
it dissolving my body doesn't freak me out. If at that point I'm in a Blob, screw it. I had a good run, but being able to be like sucked into like a hole like that and like basically so quick and so effortlessly, and then like have it come up into my suit and like suffocate me, like that's creepy as shit.
Oh, I forgot about the drain one too. That was a hell of a kill.
I wrote that down. I was like, probably the best effect in the movie.
Oh man, getting sucked through a drain.
Well, the pipe is expanding. Where like
Yeah.
again, there's logistical problems, but from a horror movie perspective, everything was so intense, which I did not expect from this movie because the plot is so not intense. It's so basic, which makes sense if it's based off like a 50s style film. But
Sure.
It's one of the matinee movie
Yeah.
of the weeks. You know,
again, it works perfectly as that. This movie does not have any right to look as good as it does. Like just lighting, the set designs, like just the shots in it alone. Man, this is top notch work.
Yes, I'm floored by this movie. As Garrett said last episode, I had a hard on for this movie.
Yeah, no, but you did though. You talked about it for a long time. I can see why. It's a good movie.
Yeah,
but-
again, for a 50s matinee film, like again, this should not. I mean, that's the thing is, I
Well,
was
this
wondering,
one's
like,
not a 50s matinee.
no, I know
film.
what I'm saying, but like, it's that style. But the thing is like, you know, 50s matinee films are not known for their like fucking quality filmmaking.
I'm curious because we talked about the budget a little bit, how that translates to today's money, like with inflation and everything. Like, what's 10 million now? Because 10 million for a movie now.
Well, John, being the nerd that he is looking it up on his phone
$100
right
million.
I was gonna say, if it's like 100 million,
I'm gonna guess 30.
The thing is,
Yeah.
though, for the effects, yes.
Yeah.
For the actors they'd put in this movie in a modern day remake, they'd have
Sure.
at least one
Yeah.
big name. So, yeah, you'd have some money there.
Right.
But honestly, like, again, it doesn't cost you anything to be a great cinematographer.
Sure.
It doesn't
Yeah.
cost you anything to be like a good, you know, director in that aspect.
Right.
And this movie just really. Again, there was like when they're what's the guy's name who has the rape rings in the back of his trunk?
Scott.
Scott, yeah. When Scott's like basically going to his trunk to get the stuff out of the car, and you see the Blob kind of come through the grass and going up to the car, and you see Vicky in it. Like every one of those shots, I'm sitting going like, I'm like half asleep, and I'm like, damn, this is really good. Like this is a really well done film, and I was like, that's amazing. Like I just did not expect it to be that.
kept you awake after like a night playing video games.
Yes, it
man.
did.
That's pretty good.
And just to get back to the budget limitations, all these actors in here weren't really known quantities. You know, there's no big name attached
Hey,
to
he's
it.
a Dylan. Okay.
Right. But a Dylan in 1988. This is before something about Mary. You know,
Fair enough.
I would say maybe the sheriff, and then maybe the dad. Those are the only two names that I think would like really get in roles. You know,
But they
were,
and
like,
even then,
character
they're
actors.
still character
Yeah.
actors, but
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
Which I love. Okay, I gotta admit, I love a movie that's comprised of more character actors than it is like a big name.
I get happier when I see like a Dick Miller than
Yes.
any other famous
Yeah.
person in movies.
Agreed. It is $26 million. I
was close.
You were close.
Wow.
Damn.
See, that's still pretty small budget even for now.
Yeah.
Well, let's kick this one off with a kickoff.
Well, actually, we don't get the kickoff. We get a delightful
you're
little
right.
town. We get a cool
I just like the wordplay.
Yeah, that was great. That was
Oh
good
no,
job.
no! I
man.
love that. I love that like transition from
Yeah.
the cemetery immediately
Yeah,
2
to
feet
the-
to your left. You basically have a football game raging. I was like, "There's no funerals on Saturday because everyone's at the game, or you've got to compete with that."
Pretty much.
The whole town's at the game.
Keep it down. Doug's dead. We got a free. Well, I said free throw, field goal, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Football. Okay.
Free throw is not in football.
No, that's basketball.
Yeah.
This town, Arborville, actually feels very Critters 2-esque to me. Like that small, sleepy, rural, Midwestern town.
Now, where is this? What state is this
It's
in?
actually Abbeville, Louisiana. We could drive to it right now.
Yeah, I know where it was filmed, but I'm saying, like, where was it supposed to take place in the movie, though? Because they were saying, like, the snow
I think
season.
California.
Yeah.
In that, or
Really?
maybe,
They kept saying, like, the snow season. I was like, where the fuck do you
Northern
have
California is all ski. That's where, like,
I
Tahoe
lived in
and
Northern
stuff is.
California for a summer, and we was not known for snow.
Fun fact:
Summer.
That's winter sport is when most people ski.
I know, but I mean, there wasn't like the towns weren't built around
Right.
it was like in the redwood forest and stuff like that. So,
I just assumed anywhere USA
Right,
kind of
yeah.
feel.
well, that's what I
you
thought
know.
they were going for, but they kept like saying specifically like the snow season. It's going to save our economy, and I'm like, where the fuck is this?
That was Chekhov's snow.
I can
so,
see it.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't pick that up.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
no
Yeah.
problem.
So we start off in space, and we get probably the weakest part of the movie for me is the title work. The font looks pretty bad these days.
I really
with
like
that
that
glowy
font.
I
effect
loved it.
behind it. You like it?
I love the pink font.
It just felt so dated.
I loved it. I was
It
like,
was the
"Ah."
80s.
I know.
And that's all back now. Synthwave and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. People love this.
I mean, you love Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It's very much the same kind of thing.
That's true, but if you attach Dickies to anything,
Here we go. Here we go. I mean, he's not wrong. He's
Yeah, it is Arborville, California.
Okay,
I couldn't
all right.
let. I just wanted you to know.
I know you.
Yes.
You
So
just,
it's
you just
Barberville,
love being
California.
right, John.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
do
Abbeville,
though.
Louisiana. Interesting.
Yeah, well, they stuck with the A though.
Yeah.
They couldn't- yeah.
we see a meteor. Is it meteor first? And then when it hits the ground, it's a meteorite?
Yes. Once it enters the atmosphere, it becomes a meteorite.
This is your science moment with GraveTalk Podcast.
Thank you. They might be giants.
A meteor is hurtling through space. We see it enter the atmosphere, start to burn up, and it crash lands in the woods. And like every movie that involves something from space, we have to have a homeless man with a dog. And I was like, this is the trope
Oh,
now.
we're jumping to the crash. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm just getting there first.
That trope though seems to be gone. I wrote that down. I was like, you don't see homeless people in the woods in movies anymore.
I miss it.
Yeah.
You see them in the woods, just not.
I miss transients just living in the woods.
The trope in my
Yeah,
fantasy films, not real life.
Right.
Don't be homeless if you can avoid it.
I knew if OBS is in Austin, we can see that right now. You know.
Yeah, fair
Part
enough.
of here.
But in films, I like that concept.
I like my homeless people in a movie.
What happened to
not
his
near me.
dog? Did the dog get eaten? Did I miss that?
Dog bolts, man.
Okay.
Yeah, dog lives.
Smartest person in the film.
So
No animal deaths in this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the homeless guy goes up and starts prodding the meteor that is cracked open and glowing pink
So weird.
with a
And-
stick.
Like I often say, like, yes, these people don't know that they're in horror movies, but common sense would indicate if you see something come that is a weird radioactive color, maybe just don't prod at it.
That's a good point, John. And also, whenever the gelatinous goo wraps itself around his stick, maybe don't hold it directly above your head.
Yes.
It's like, what is he doing?
Better bring that closer to my face.
So it wraps around his hand, and we'll get back to him later. But first, we got to introduce Arborville and the football game.
Yes, we got our jock. Paul is basically a football guy. He wants to go on a date with Meg, who's the head cheerleader, I guess. But Meg's got a boyfriend, so blah, blah, blah.
Totally irrelevant though, because she drops her boyfriend immediately.
She didn't even drop her boyfriend unless she wasn't even dating anybody.
They don't ever introduce the boyfriend at all, so it doesn't
Yeah.
even matter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
high school, you know.
complete pointless, thing there. But anyway, he ends up asking her on a date. She says yes after getting tackled, and then we cut to the woods, and we've got our boy Flag, my man Flag.
Rocking just gorgeous 80s hair.
Imagine Bobo knockoff great value version David from the Lost Boys.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
he's got a motorcycle. He's got a little frilly cravat shirt type thing. He's got a leather jacket with the Joker painted on the back. He's man, that feathered hair.
He's a real 80s bad boy.
He's a real bad boy.
It's kind of interesting how much effort people used to put into appear in counterculture. Like,
I mean, if you go down to Hell to Vegas right now, a lot of guys look like Flag, even including some of my friends. I'm going to be real with you.
fair enough. But I think now, the whole concept of counterculture is almost gone anyway, because we've all shattered. Culture has shattered into 7 gazillion little niche cultures.
Swear to God, we need to buy wigs and feather them out and just take a GraveTalk promo shot.
I'm in.
I'm in.
Let's go.
But yeah, we introduced Flag, and he's got his bike, and he's gonna jump it across an abandoned, kind of broken wooden bridge. So he goes up to it, looks at it, goes way back, and then starts driving towards it. Now, what happens to his bike? Because he looks down like, oh no, and I'm like, don't you want to be going fast? Like, what is the problem here? Like, he's like, it's going too fast. And I'm like, yes, that's what you want when you jump a gorge.
I was very confused. I thought what was going to happen is he was going to like crash into the football game or something because he looked. I was like, what is going on?
How small do you think this town is?
Well, we didn't know yet at the time.
He jumps the graveyard into the football game.
He's got a little basket on the front. E.T. sitting there as he goes across the fucking moon.
It was so banana, but he looked so, I don't know, it was a very weird shot scene. I don't know, something broke. His engine broke somehow. And
Look, he had a waiver of confidence. And the thing about Brian Flagg is he's going to be the misunderstood bad boy throughout the entire film. He's actually a good guy underneath. He's just had a hard time of it.
Because nobody's cared about him before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as we know that the officer Bill later goes, "Where's your mom?" Probably whoring it up with a bunch of other dudes in some other time zone. More or less is what he says.
What about your dad? Well, who knows who he is? Like, holy shit, you're picking on a 17-year-old dude.
The animosity between the cops and Flagg, I fucking loved it. It didn't make any sense.
It's
I mean, that's still relevant
Look,
now.
ACAB, baby. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you're in your late 40s, early 50s, baby. You're just beating up on a child. What are you doing?
We don't actually see Brian Flagg do anything wrong in the movie, but apparently he's been, spray painting towns or something?
He's been the juvie. He's been the juvie a couple
Right.
times, which I thought was interesting because like when he's like trying to get out of that van later on and she's like, "Why are you freaking out? You're locked in this van." And he goes, "I got a problem with authority." I was like, dude, all you had to say was I don't like being locked up. You've been to juvie. Like that's a way better like fear response than "I don't like authority." And it's like, all right, Rage Against the Machine, calm down there.
Yeah, he's kind of in the bad boy, like the Bart Simpson mold, where it's all very like wholesome bad boyness.
It's funny you say that. I thought he was trying to jump Springfield Gorge. But he doesn't. He wavers in confidence, drops his bike, falls over, and then our homeless man I mentioned earlier, this is pre getting Blob on his hand, laughs at him and picks up a can and walks on his way.
That he threw.
He actually applauds, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he applauds like, "Hey, you blew it." But he picks up that can and he pours out the beer in it. But it looks like he's pouring one out for his homie. Like
I thought that, yes.
You didn't make it. My bad. One for you, boy. But he's just recycling the can.
Yep.
I was like, wow, what the fuck is going on with this movie? But yeah, then we cut back to, I guess it's like in the city because his bike is messed up. And Flagg, we realize, works for or knows a guy at the repair shop, the auto body repair shop.
Yeah, his name's Moss.
Okay, Moss. And they're fixing what? Snow blowers or what the fuck were these things?
It's a fake snow machine because there's no real snow because it's unusually hot.
So this town in California makes fake snow to have a snow season, a skiing season.
Yeah.
Yes, which is pretty common at ski
That
resorts.
seems like a very
Specific thing to have in your
Yes.
movie, and because it's so integral to the end.
Well, yes, I mean, definitely all ties together. But in ski towns they do put fake snow to
I guess I don't know
fluff
about
up the
ski
snow.
towns, but but yeah, this was cool. So he borrows a ratchet set to fix his bike.
Yeah.
But the cop was like, "All right, you're 18 tomorrow or something like that. Next time you're going to jail, real jail, pound me in the ass jail." And it was like, dude, this cop is going hard on this kid and he's doing nothing. He's just standing on the corner.
Minding his own business, and he's like, "Can't wait to arrest you later." Like, damn.
This is such a sleepy town that Brian is the only problem that they
Yes.
have. So
Yes.
we got a Brian out on Main Street. He's peeing.
I'm surprised Scott hasn't had a run-in with the law at this point based off his box of rings, but yes.
He's probably had his dad, brush those problems under the rug.
What if his dad is the Deputy Bill?
Probably blames Brian because everything that goes wrong in this town's Brian's fault, including
Apparently,
when
yeah.
people get dissolved. They're like, "Just arrest Brian and let's go from
The
there."
sheriff pulls up, he's like, "I know you were involved in that JFK assassination. We're going to get you for this one." It's like, dude, what the fuck? Leave him alone.
Wasn't that an amazing leap of logic that Officer Bill made? He's like, someone got dissolved here. It must be Brian's fault.
Yes, ridiculous. That's one of my notes. Is like, how could Brian have done this? Magic? Like, what do you think? What powers do you think he has?
He's got battery acid somewhere. I know it.
But we get we get a scene where the football players are going to go meet Meg. They go buy condoms from the pharmacist, who we later find out is Meg's dad. So when they meet each other, it's like, "You're the one that bought condoms. You're going on a date with my daughter." Dun dun dun.
Well, just proving that Scott is a piece of shit. So at the football game, Paul got tackled, and then he does actually ask out the
yes.
girl. So they're in there, and Scott's the one buying condoms for himself, but the priest is in there at the countertop at the pharmacy,
As
and
one.
he's like, they're actually Paul's back there. It's him. He's a horn dog. He's gonna go fuck some girl, and they're like, "Do you want regular or rib?" And he's like, "Rib." And it's like, guess what? Yeah, Garrett's right. The pharmacist is actually Paul's date's dad.
Okay, so he was just blaming.
Yeah.
Okay, Paul. Okay, I thought it was for both of them, and I was all like, oh, no wonder the dad's pissed. But if it's just like he's getting blamed for it,
I mean, look, Blob is the main villain here, but Scott is like the mini boss.
Yes, for sure.
you got to go through Scott to get to the Blob.
Right.
It was a well done scene, all in all, because they don't drag it out. It really never. It was just a funny little.
Except for the fact when the priest showed up, it was like, Father. I was like, oh boy. But that was definitely done for comedic purposes.
Yeah, that was a good little break.
Also, rule of advice to any, I almost said kids listening to it. You shouldn't be listening to it if you're a kid. But like if you're a teenager and you're buying something and you're blaming your friend and you look over them and point at them, hey friend, don't go, hurry it up. Like pretend like you don't know what's going on.
I've got chicks to bang. Let's go.
Like Paul like points at his watch like, come on, man, get the condoms. And you're just like, dude, what the fuck, man?
Well, nowadays they would just use self-checkout. So no one would even know the shame, the quote-unquote shame of buying condoms is
You
gone.
remember that when you were a kid and you were like, oh my God, I got to buy condoms.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't know why I
man.
was so embarrassed. I'd be like, hell yeah, I'm buying condoms. Like, that's how you should approach it. But instead, I don't know, whatever.
What are you doing tonight? Ba-bam.
Yeah.
Kids, if you want to get that same shame, just try to go buy a Hustler from the gas station.
True.
It's pretty similar.
Oh, did you have shame when you bought porno?
Oh, I never bought porn from the gas station.
I bought porn one time when I turned 18 because I could. And I had no shame at all because it was a blast. And then me and my friend put it in someone's mailbox and just left it there.
And the internet
Nice.
already existed by then, anyways. I'm assuming. So,
The porn fairy showed up today, dropped it off in my mailbox.
I wonder, Matt.
Father Montague checks his mail and he's like, my wood.
Yeah.
Satan's everywhere.
Some poor guy got in trouble with his wife when she went to get the mail because we shoved porn in his mailbox. Like,
You know what, John? You were the real Brian Flagg of your neighborhood.
yeah, hell yeah, man. Apparently.
Anyway, back to the Blob.
We're introduced to a diner.
Oh, the diner. Yeah,
Yes.
you're right.
So we're introduced to a diner. It's the only diner in
We're
town.
introduced to a diner as if it's a main character.
It's a main setting.
Yeah.
I know. I
Comes
just like
back
the way you said it.
multiple times, and we have the waitress there, Mrs. Penny.
I think her name was Fran, though, wasn't it?
Could be Fran.
it was Fran, yeah.
'cause
Fran
they were yelling
Penny.
Fran like a ton.
has two.
IMDb doesn't say Fran.
Like most people, she has two names, first and last. So
She's your standard waitress. She's really nice. She seems to be the only one working there at any given time, other than George in the back, who I guess is the cook.
yeah, she's working one of those open to closes, man. Probably has another open to close the next day.
Do you think she was making an excuse when she rebuffed the sheriff's advances?
Well, I think he was like more of a wink wink type thing because then she wrote him off at 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Little note.
okay. Because she's like, I'm so busy. I don't know if I have time to blah, blah, blah. But I was like, okay, well, I mean, you shot your shot, bro. But
So after chastising Brian, Sheriff Herb has gone to lunch here at the diner, and he's like, well, Fran, do you happen to like country music? And she's like, no.
she's like, why, yes, I like country
Yeah.
music.
And he's like, want to go meet me after work? She's like, I work a really long time. And then she says on his bill, she wrote, I get off at 11.
Oh, I missed
Yeah.
that. Okay.
So he
all right,
gets-
well, way to go, Sheriff.
That's what I'm talking about. The little like interplay
Yeah.
of these characters. I'm like, okay, this is nice. This is cute. You know, I'm into this.
I care
lot
about
of
these
meet
people.
cutes.
Yeah.
In the 50s version, is everyone like hooking up or everyone trying to like get together with everyone, or is that more of an 80s thing?
That's definitely an 80s thing. 'Cause In
Okay.
the 50s version, you're pretty much following Steve McQueen and his date, who I can't remember the life of me now at this point, mostly for the movie, from the whole movie.
Okay.
I don't remember his name either.
That's fine.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It's not
It's
important.
just Steve.
McQueen, yeah.
I think actually it is Steve in the movie. So there you go. In 50s movie, Steve McQueen's name is Steve.
They didn't trust him to remember a fake name.
I
So
mean,
they're
he was
like,
already in his 50s at this point. So,
yeah.
You know.
They're like, Steve, you're just going to be Steve for this
Yeah,
one.
You're playing a teenager.
So Paul goes to pick up Meg for the date.
One of the least important but most memorable details about this movie is when we see their kitchen, it is so brown. And I was like, oh, that is the 80s. Kids these days think the 80s are all neon lights and bright ass colors. It was brown. We've talked about this before. But
Wood paneling and ashtrays. That's what the 80s was.
brown, yellow that wants to be brown. Like,
Yellow that wants to be brown.
just the
Nice.
grossest colors.
Someday I'm going to be brown, damn it.
Well, we had that scene earlier where like the two kids are like we're gonna spend the night over at Eddie's house, and she's
Yeah.
like, oh, that's cool. And, like, and then we're going to a rated R movie, and she's like, wait, whoa, pump the
Yeah,
brakes. And
worst
it's like,
friend
Eddie, you
ever.
fucking idiot.
Hey,
Yeah.
the last thing you want to do is give away your secret plan to go sneak off and watch a movie you're not allowed to. But He's like, hey, Mom, don't worry. My brother's an usher. He's going to let us in. And she's like, no, you're not.
Yeah. He's like, we're going to pretend to sleep at each other's house and then go see this movie.
Shout out to the mom for being stupid as fuck and being like, oh, that's your fucked up plan? It's okay. We're just going to sleep at each other's houses. Okay. Like, she immediately forgets what they just said.
I believe that if I've learned anything from watching all these 80s movies is that parents in the 80s were terrible.
Yes.
Like, they just did not know what they were doing.
Give them a $5 bill and hope for the best. That was the 80s.
It's a
That's what I
miracle.
plan to do with my kids. So, you know.
She had to go get another Valium before it was too late. It was starting to wear off.
Mother's little helpers back again. So the kid answers the door and was like, hold on, I'll get Meg. And then the mom answers it and she's like, I'm so sorry, my kid's a piece of shit. Come on in. I'll go get Meg. That's when the Meg's like, here's my dad, say hi to my dad. I never got introduced to dads on the first date.
That seems to be more of a classic style of, hey.
Trope, maybe even at this point. But yeah.
Meg dresses like she is 35 and going to the office.
There was a whole scene about her mom shrunk her sweater, so she had to wear her mom's fucking jacket.
Which can only work out for you, Meg. Wear the shrunken sweater.
Really excited about it, though. She was like honored that she got to wear this cashmere.
Well, that's an expensive sweater.
Yeah, well, it made her, I was like, damn, this is a grown-ass woman.
Jeez.
She will be soon, yeah.
Yeah.
But Dad, a.k.a. the pharmacist, takes one look at Paul and only has one word for him.
Ribbed.
I couldn't believe that was the line they went with. It was funny, but I was like, really? That's what you kept in your script, huh?
Loved it. Because then it just cuts away. Like, they don't drag it on. It's perfect.
It's like such a little like ba-boom kind of gag. And I was like, all right, I respect the hustle here.
And we cut to, inexplicably, Brian Flagg is working on his bike in the middle of the woods. Not in a garage, not at his house, not on the street, in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, well, if you had an easily movable bike, wouldn't you just fix it where it broke down?
Yeah, if something's on wheels, would you not use said wheels to roll?
No.
If his bike was broken and he was at the shop, why didn't he stay at the shop and fix it there?
Yep.
Also, arguably, this town is maybe like 2 minutes wide.
I was going to say.
Everyone gets to everywhere. Like when the government finds David and Meg in the woods and they're like, we got to go into town. And then literally it's like they turn around and it's like, we're in town. And I was like, wow, you can see everything. And the end where I was like, when she tells Billy, like, get out of the sewers and go to town hall. And he like pops up out of the sewer and town hall's like 5 feet in front of him. I was like, wow, this town is the size of a dime.
It literally is just one square block.
Has to be. It's like, I don't know, like when I don't know where Leander's town hall is. I'd be fucked. If that's where we're supposed to go get safe, I have no idea.
Yeah, but anyways, he's just minding his own business in the woods trying to fix his bike. And what do you know?
In the dark. Did he have a light?
Sure.
He was squinting real hard. It was good.
Through the power of moonlight.
He's accosted by the hobo with the blob on his hand who just runs up and starts axing his hand off in front of his face.
This is shot really well because the hobo basically holds an axe up and you think he's going to like bring it down and kill Brian. But instead, he like chops into his hand. He's trying to cut the blob hand off. I did not see that coming. Like, I was like, wow, that's really well shot. Like, that like creeped me out.
And Brian's like, holy shit, dude. And like, I guess the homeless man just goes and runs in the street.
Yeah.
And is hit by.
Well, Brian tries to stop him from doing it. And he's trying to, like, he's like, it's eating my hand. And so he's like running away from Brian, who's stopping him from trying to take his hand off.
Gotcha. And he runs out into the street, and wouldn't you know it, Paul and Meg are driving by and hit him with the car.
As you do.
As you do.
So they both,
High school,
they both get out and they're like, oh my God, he came out of nowhere. And then they see a flag run up and he's like, what did you do? Why did you run him in front of my car? And he's like, I didn't hit him with the car. And he's like, yeah, but you were chasing him. So it had to be your
Poor
fault.
Brian, man. He's like, why'd you push him in front of my car?
I think the town motto is it's Flag's fault.
Yeah.
Also, I am really upset that the 80s led me to believe that there was going to be the biggest class warfare between the cool kids and the uncool kids, and that shit never came.
No, we'll never know who would have won either, the yuppies or the biker kids.
An entire decade of like, oh, we'll get you, you expensive rich yuppies, and nope, never happened.
No.
So they're like, okay, let's take him to the hospital, the homeless person. And so they all go to the hospital, and the nurse is like, well, does he have insurance? He's like, I don't know this guy.
A leap right out of 2023.
Yeah, right? So they're all right, go put him in the back where we'll ignore him.
That's your message in the movie, you know? That's your class
She
message.
lets him like just go to the back.
Yeah.
That's how hospitals are when you are in a hospital of a town of 12. So
It felt less like a hospital and more just like a standard doctor's office. You know, it didn't really feel hospital-y.
we probably call it like urgent care now versus, I don't know if they had the term in 88 though.
I can see that.
So they put him back there, and
The word urgent and care didn't exist in the 80s.
that concept.
I know.
They put him back, and they're
The homeless guy, right?
The homeless guy.
Is Flag still at the hospital at this point?
He shows up and he leaves immediately,
Yeah.
Okay,
right?
okay.
So he gets in the car with Meg and Paul because he's like, you're going to tell your dad this was my fault or
Which
something
they
for
totally
the insurance claim or something.
Yeah, to John's point, that's the plan.
Brian, this is Brian's third hospital visit this week.
Yep.
They're like, Brian killed this guy. So yes, he does. He's like, you know what? I'm hungry.
What does he do?
He skedaddles.
There you go.
Fuck yeah. He's like, I'm going to go get a sandwich. It's all right, I guess, after you almost killed a guy. It works up quite an appetite.
So they're sitting in the waiting room for a while, and then I think Meg is like, I'm really worried about that guy. And Paul looks over, and you can see straight into the waiting room. The homeless man is just like pulsating and moving.
Dissolving,
and it's like,
yeah.
something's wrong with that guy. So he
What's he
wanders,
doing under that blanket over there?
he wanders over to take a better look.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh my God, he doesn't have legs.
Well, no, isn't it like just bulging in his
Out
neck
of
and he
his
goes
neck,
to the
yeah.
doctor?
Oh, you're
His
right.
eyes are like white. They're like ghost white.
He's like, a man's dying. The doctor's like, I am with a patient.
Okay, that cracked me up when like he's having that conversation with that lady. I was like, what could they be talking about that would be so more important than a man's dying over here? The Hippocratic Oath
that's a
does not
good
exist
question.
in Arborville.
It's another mother asking for a Valium refill.
Yes. It's like, oh, that Brian stressing out another mom.
So I did want to point out that the doctor is played by Jack Nance, and that's the guy from Twin Peaks and Eraserhead. Oh. So that was a nice little cameo. I did
Okay.
appreciate that. He's like, what, the guy with the hand thing?
Yeah.
And he like wanders in and pulls back the tarp, and he's like, my God, no legs.
He looks at Bronny or Paul and goes, what is this? Like, dude, you're the doctor.
Yeah.
The homeless man is like dissolved. Like
Yeah.
his lower half is like deteriorated. It's a pool of like festering, like popping and oozing like pink blood goo. And I was like, this is insane. Like, honestly, at this point, I was like, wow, I did not remember this movie being this intense.
Really well done, I would say.
What happens to the doctor? I don't remember.
I think he just leaves. 'Cause
Yeah,
he doesn't
he's just
die.
out of
Yeah.
there.
He just bolts?
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
he
I think he
bolts.
goes to go call the sheriff, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
Well, he gets killed though.
No.
No, he gets killed.
he doesn't call the sheriff because remember, Paul calls the sheriff.
oh right, that's yeah. So wait, what? I think he just is like, this is beyond me.
I mean, yeah, small town doctor.
Because it's like it's around the room or whatever, and it eats the doctor, doesn't it? And that's when it goes into the doctor's office when Meg sees it.
Does it eat the doctor? I
can't remember it.
anymore.
Anyway, the point is,
the doctor either leaves or dies. Irrelevant because
Yeah.
he leaves the
He's
movie.
gone.
Yeah.
yes, my work here is done.
Yes.
Paul runs into the doctor's office, and he's calling the police, saying, hey, get down here. There's something going on. It's nasty. And then
Flag's done it again.
from the ceiling drops the blob. And if you've seen the cover of this movie, this is that scene. Paul gets encased in gelatin and is immediately dissolved. Meg runs in screaming, and she tries to help him out of there, but only manages to pull his arm off and then faints from the vapors.
As you would, for sure.
Yeah.
Because one thing we need to say about the blob itself is it's like this pink, like clear gelatinous kind of like goo stuff, but it actually is corrosive. It actually will like eat away. Like the homeless guy got deteriorated in half when she's pulling Paul's hand. It comes off because it like stretches like fucking cheese, like melted cheese on a pizza.
Yep.
It's so grody. But yeah, he's inside like scream suffocating, and she's just like, deuces, I'm out. And
She is out because she passes out.
Yeah.
Right
because the cops show up at this point, don't they?
Right. And they're like,
Yeah.
go get Brian.
there. Yeah.
It's like their only thing that they could do. And they do say, I want the autopsy done like tomorrow, not next week. And it's like,
We're going to find the son of a bitch who did this. And as the other cop car of the town rolls in, and Officer Bill's like, we already got him. And Brian's already been arrested.
holy shit, man. Poor dude.
So they take Brian to the police station and are trying to interrogate him, and they're just busting his balls, but he's being an ass back. I mean, he's probably been arrested how many times? 30,
knows-
40
He's
times?
juvie,
Yeah. He knows what to do. He's
One
like,
could say he has a real problem with authority.
oh, as you see, yeah. He's like, am I under arrest? Because I'd like a lawyer. And if so, if not, I'd like to leave. I'm like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Good job, dude.
Yep, that's what you gotta
I
say.
like when they're like, what the fuck's wrong with you? He's like, I don't know, I'm real messed up. And it was like, maybe I need a therapist. And
I like
it was
you said
like,
that with a-
bro, you
a
probably should
sassy
actually
head
legit
bob.
see a therapist. Like, if your mom's a whore, your dad is gone, you got problems here.
Yeah.
And the Sheriff Herb is like, Sheriff Herb, sorry, he's not an herb. Sheriff Herb's like, we're going to have to let him go. We've got nothing on him, man. And Brian's like, yeah, Brian Ramon needs to get to band practice. Let me go.
Does he say that?
No.
Awesome though.
I was like, I missed that line completely.
Mark invented a whole other movie.
Yeah,
to say
my
that.
wife was like, he looks like a Ramon. I'm like, you know what? You're right.
I could see that.
He's one of the long lost Ramones suing for custody
Exactly.
at this point.
Right.
Does your
You
wife
get-
think anyone with long brown hair and a black leather jacket is a Ramone?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all you need to get into the band.
Yeah, I mean that's not.
I thought,
that's fair.
I do too. So, the other cop's just like, I'm telling you, Brian, dissolver. It's one of his powers. He's like, listen, we got nothing. Let him go. I note your objections or whatever. And so he goes and he lets Brian go.
Yeah, how does Bill just, with the evidence they have, how does Bill even put two and two together like that? It's bizarre.
Well, because he can't. Nothing in this town can go wrong unless Brian is in the center. He's like the Don of the mafia of this town. All right.
I think in a lot of movies, the number 2 deputy is always the idiot of the town, but
Yeah.
somehow ascended to number 2.
Was anyone else upset that carector died? I thought he was going to have an arc where he learned to trust Brian, and he was like, all right, we're going to get through this together. You and I are going to make this happen.
Well, he kind of does.
Yeah. Sort of,
He
but
has
then
that
he gets
moment.
killed instantly. The moment he has that breakthrough, it's like, character development and dead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great
let's-
kill, but still dead.
Nah, ACAB all the way.
Yeah, right. It's par for the course for this movie, though. Like, when Paul first died, I was like, oh, fuck. I did not expect him to be the first to go, because at this point, you think he's going to be the main character. Okay,
Would you
Paul.
say it subverted your expectations?
It did,
All right.
yeah.
Did you really think Paul was the main character?
Yeah, but I thought
kinda
Paul
was setting
and...
up that
Oh, the
way.
moment I saw Brian, I was like, here it is.
Well,
He's going to be a lovable bad boy.
I thought it'd be like a triangle type
okay.
situation where the three of them would get together
on.
and fight the
a whole different movie. Yeah.
and fight the Blob. I thought Paul and Meg would be, the power
Brian, go to
couple.
my trunk and get the rings.
and by the end, it'd be a thruple. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like a Breakfast Club situation, but no.
I think we may see different movies.
So Brian's going to go to the diner, but meanwhile, Scott and Vicky have gone out into the woods to neck a little bit.
And Scott is he the other jock? Or was
Yeah,
he-
he's Paul's friend.
Okay.
Scott is a little rapey. Is that what you're gonna say?
Oh, no, I just want to make sure Scott was the right
A
one.
lot rapey.
Because
Yeah.
he has a shirt on that says Scott, like he works in a mechanic
Yeah,
shop, and
yeah.
I was like, does he switch into this? This is casual Scott as opposed to his Leatherman jacket.
He just can't remember his own name.
Yeah.
So what do we call? Oh, Scott.
Did I say Leatherman jacket instead of
You
Letterman
did.
jacket? Okay, he's also a Ramon.
He's also got a smoking jacket somewhere. You know it. He's one of those
He's
types.
probably accidentally roofied himself a couple times. He needs to make sure he
He's the
remembers.
kind that has dip on hand just in case he thinks it makes him look cool.
There you go.
Leroy, why don't you describe Scott's car?
It's like it's a 50s car, right? It's Cadillac or some kind. I
Yeah.
don't know. The point is, I was excited about this because Scott's boozing up with this chick in the back of the car. Very rapey vibes coming off this man. She's basically passed out. So kids don't do that. Consent's key. Remember that. If she can't consent,
Even if you get consent and they pass out, that's
yes,
still
that's
not
still not
consent.
right.
She was way past when she could have granted consent at
Exactly.
this point. She was barely even knew
What
where
was
she
he
was.
drinking? What was his special
So I'm going to get
punch?
to that actually.
Okay.
So what's key to this car is he's like, I'm going to make us. I think he calls them a cherry something drink or whatever. My cherry surprise.
Scott's Bang. Who knows?
It's cherry surprise is just as creepy. So he opens up the trunk of this car and it's got an entire bar set. I'm talking hanging fuzzy dice, everything in the back. It's insane. I had to screenshot this because I've been pandemic. I've been drinking heavily too. So
And you're like Exhibit. You're going to go pimp your ride later.
exactly. And I'm like, so what's he got in the back of this car? He's got
Cherry
a
surprise.
gigantic thing of grenadine, a huge thing of Sprite or something. I don't know if I can say brand names on this podcast.
Yeah,
but,
sure. Who cares?
Yeah, we're sponsored by
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah, exactly. Sponsored
You
by
got to say
Sprite.
7-Up. We're
That's
a
right,
7-Up company here.
7-Up
Boo.
Rip Sierra Mist.
Yeah.
Cool
He's got-
spot rules, okay?
Hill Country Fair, soda in the back, and so and then a big bottle of what I thought was Bombay Sapphire, but I think it's actually a vodka. My point is
My man's getting into the real
Exactly.
I
hefty
need to
details
know
of
now.
booze.
How many
look,
parts
if
vodka?
you want to make this
If you
drink
want to make Scott's Cherry Bang or whatever.
next time, if you want to make Scott's cherry thing, I'm pretty sure he made what's called a Dirty Shirley. It's a Shirley Temple with vodka.
Okay.
FYI.
Easy
but I think,
enough.
But I think instead of Sprite, he used a cherry soda. I mean, who can find cherry soda?
Dude also has fresh fruit in the back.
Yeah,
Of course.
He
He's
drops a
got
couple fresh
tons of
strawberries in there.
and about 7,000 class rings.
You got to
Yes.
garnish it.
Yeah.
So did he put what was the deal with the rings? What was the trick with the rings?
Because he uses that to be like, oh, we're going steady.
Yeah.
Right. So I gave you my ring, as he says, I gave you my ring. That's got to mean something.
Yeah, this is an 80s
Well, Mark, in
thing.
the world of
guilt her.
80s dating, when you go steady, you would often give your girl your jacket or give them your class ring.
I see.
And if they wore your class ring either on their hand or on a chain around their neck, y'all were official. That was a thing. That was a sacred bond that could not be broken.
Is this Scott and Vicky's first date?
I think they've had a courting relationship up to this point, but this might be the first like real date they've
Where he's
had.
going to seal the deal.
Okay, I just would have.
Vicky seems aware of his shenanigans, so I don't know if this is their first date because she's like, Scott, come on, I've told you.
I thought she'd already have a ring. Is my point.
Well,
So
she
I didn't-
does
Yeah.
because he says you're wearing my ring. That's got to mean something. So he's using the ring as
Since
a
we're
guilt
originally steady,
mechanism.
you owe me
That's
the
his
grope.
mark.
Okay.
Yeah, and some real 80s logic there.
Yeah.
So Vicky's already had one too many cherry surprises, and she passes the fuck out and leaves. While the car doors open, we get POV of the blob slithering into the car.
No special effects, nothing crazy, just straight up standard monster cam.
It's just a blob on a fishing wire that they're dragging across.
So Scott comes back to the car and he's like, "Vicky, here's your drink." Oh man, you passed out. It is kind of hot in this car.
Did you point out that when he goes to the trunk and makes the dirty Shirley or whatever it was,
Yeah.
he basically like lifts up a cigar box that has like 6 or 7 there's a ton of class rings in there. Like
Yeah,
obviously
yes.
he's
We were
been
just
giving
talking
them- okay.
We literally just
Now,
talked about
The
that.
thing is, class rings are like $300 a piece?
These are fake, I'm sure. These
They
are
gotta be
cracker
Okay,
fake.
you think he's got a ring guy?
But you're
Yeah.
right. They were expensive. Well, I mean, they're also rich kids, so it could just be like nothing to him.
These are cubic.
Were you allowed to
zirconia.
buy like extras though? Like
Oh,
I really
I'm
doubt it.
sure.
I doubt they
what
would
if they're
stop
Play-Doh?
you.
And Vicky's
Yes.
just that dumb.
There's just rings in a claw
Could be that.
machine. He stood in a whole night getting them.
I'm just curious if a school would stop you for like, I'll buy 20 of them. You're like,
I think that you buy
please don't.
one. I think that you buy
I have no
one.
idea.
I think they would just be like, okay, because if I remember from my class, it was just a form.
I was more of
That
a flag kid growing up than I was a Paul or
I didn't have class ring money.
Show us your leather jacket, Leroy. Leroy Ramon.
So anyway, he goes back to the car with the drink.
Yeah.
And
drank at this point.
yeah, she's not going to drink it. She's out.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Boy, you sure do look hot. It's so hot tonight. It's so steamy. Let me help you with that button on the top of your shirt." Oh no.
Need another button?
You
He
still need.
literally, and Mark's not kidding. He literally narrates like,
Yes,
"Oh,
yeah.
you still look hot. Oh, you like that?
For
Well,
the
tell you
core,
what."
yeah.
And it's just like, bro, you've got problems.
And then hand down the shirt, and what happens?
He gets blobbed. The blob wraps around his arm, and then he cuts to sort of Vicky's point of view, I guess.
The blob is wants consent. That's the
Yes.
thing, man. The blob is like, hey, yeah, man, you're not consenting here.
didn't
Well, the
ask.
blob didn't get consent from Vicky though.
Exactly. Oh, that's
So-
true. yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Well, the blob's the only one that's allowed.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and it just sort of falls onto his face, like it jumps at him, and that's
Yeah.
the end of Scott. I'd say poor Scott, but no,
it
he
fills the
couldn't.
No,
car
not
up,
poor
doesn't it?
Scott,
Like it
yeah.
kind of like blobs
It
out.
blobs
like-
up, yeah.
Yeah, it blobs out.
And Vicky just implodes. She like gets sucked in like a
Dude, her
vortex.
face gets sucked in like a baby doll in a vacuum cleaner tube.
Now, was the blob inside of her? Is that
Yes.
why this was
Yes.
happening?
It would
Ugh.
it had eaten her way. It had eaten its way up inside of her, and then when he goes to the tit grab,
Yeah.
So it's really
a smack.
really interesting, right? So the blob normally encases you in a blob-like substance and dissolves you, but this time he did the reverse.
Well, he had to prove a point to Scott.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was like, "This crazy bastard's gonna grab some titty on this passed out chick. You know what I'm gonna do? And teach this asshole a lesson.
Yeah, exactly.
I
He's
think-
gonna learn something before he dies."
This blob has a message.
I do.
He's a monster, but not that kind of monster. you
I
know?
think the blob does have some intelligence, though. I know it says it doesn't in the back of the box, but it's the only way some of these plot holes make sense is if the blob does have.
Doesn't
a
the
little-
come to that
government
later.
say? Doesn't the government say at one point like it's progressing further than we thought? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Actually,
Yes.
Dr. Fauci does say that.
yeah.
We'll get to that in a second.
So I'm pretty. Yeah, I think that even if it's just basic intelligence, it has to have some concept.
Yeah. So anyway, it blobs up in the car, eats both of them. They scream, and then we cut to a snow globe on the side of a table, and we slowly pan up, and Meg is laying in bed because she just watched Paul get eaten in the hospital. And I was like, I swear to God, if we don't get a Rosebud moment in this movie, I'm going to be so pissed. We did not get a Rosebud moment. She sneaks out of the house because she's so upset that no one believes her that she was like, everyone's getting blobbed. And so she goes and finds Brian because I guess he was there and saw the whole hand thing.
Well,
She was
Yeah,
going
he
to
saw
bail
the
him
hand
out.
Thing, so that too. Yeah.
She was going to the police station to bail him out,
With
but he
a
already
credit
got
card.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With it. Well, they probably take credit cards.
No, you definitely they don't. I mean, you got to go to a bail
They had
bond.
Stripe
You don't
back
just
then.
go to the jail to
Yeah.
bail somebody out.
John's done hard time. He'll
As
tell you
someone
how to
who's
do it.
never basically been hard timed.
Well, hold on. Just going to jail is not hard. I've never been to prison. Anyway,
But you've been
American-
arrested stupid.
You
though.
normally wouldn't
Hey.
go to the jail.
I'm a
yeah.
Hispanic male. Okay, you got to know these kind of
Yeah, yeah,
things.
yeah.
All right, 777-7777.
American Express. Don't go to jail without one.
So she goes to bail out Brian because she's like, he's the only one that'll believe me and help me on this situation. But he's already been out. He gives her a lot of attitude, and then he's like, I'm gonna go get a sandwich, and they go to the diner.
I mean, he also says, like, Meg, you've never talked to me in, like, all the years that I've been in school with you. You've left me alone to get accosted by everybody in town and the police. Like, why do you want to talk to me now?
They were not friends.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
Fuck that, though. You just saw someone deteriorate, chop their hand off with a fucking axe. You know what? Differences apart, yeah, you're cool with each other at this point.
But he didn't see the dissolving. He just saw the homeless man with the glob on his hand.
Yeah, he had left the police station.
Yeah,
They were asking him in the police
Yeah.
station, like, yo, what happened with all... I mean, he knows some shit's up.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm leaving, which I totally get. If you were Brian and every single thing that happened in the town is blamed on you, wouldn't you also just leave? I would.
I don't know.
He's not getting a fair shake in Arborville
Brian
or
needs to go
whatever.
to law school and then sue the fuck out of these cops.
There you go.
Yeah.
Meg's like, you're just like everybody else. You don't believe me either. And he's like, whoa, hold on. Okay, you're
Wait a
serious.
minute, I'm a nice guy.
Yeah.
Oh, do you want a sandwich?
He's like, here, have half. You look hungry. Eat something.
I was like, Brian knows what's up. Definitely good idea to give him food when they're mad.
Also, shout outs to small towns where you can go into a restaurant after they close and be like, the grill's closed, and be like, oh, come on, I'm hungry. And they're like, we gotcha. And I was like, damn.
Yeah. Good luck trying to do that in Austin.
Yeah. Look,
anywhere.
when I worked at a restaurant, I hated those people. Well, you close at 10:30 and it's 10:29, and you're still open, right? Like, oh, get
See, we didn't grow up
fucked.
in a small town. That's the
That's
thing.
true. It was not a small town.
You might
See,
have known that person.
What you don't know is that the diner is actually Brian's stepmother.
Oh, no, there's a twist.
He goes there a
Is it
lot.
really?
It seemed like there was a history with the waitress.
They
and
knew
him.
each
Is this
other.
a headcanon thing?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
definitely a headcanon thing.
Maybe Brian's responsible for breaking up her first marriage.
You know, John's usually the one who headcanons these things, not you.
Well, sometimes I want to do it.
That was good, though. I like that was
I
good
like it.
headcanon.
There felt like there
I've
was a
listened to
history.
a lot of this podcast over the pandemic, so I know how this goes. Yeah.
Okay, well, you're right, Leroy. John, you want to take this headcanon from me?
No, look, I love that headcanon. If I were to do it, that's what I would do. So great work after 5 years. I think
Okay.
I could pass the baton every once in a while.
right,
Oh,
thank
yeah,
you,
I
sir.
love it.
I am in hell, listeners. Help me. Anyway, so they basically decide to work together because Brian's going to be a nice guy after all. And at this point, Fran goes in the back and she's like, you kids wrap up or some shit like that. And then she's like, Georgie, what are you doing back there? And they're plunging the sink because the blob has escaped through the
Sewer.
the sewer drain. Yes.
I love the way this blob gets around town, though. It's like it randomly just shows up in places. Later on, it'll just randomly be in an air vent. which
Yeah, I
love.
do. I mean, I'd like to see a map of the blob's travels because it doesn't.
Like a family circus cartoon with the little
Yeah.
dots where
Yes.
Billy runs the whole fucking thing. Okay.
But
I'm
also
with
why?
you.
Like, I'm curious why it goes. Why the sewer? Why? I guess because you can get around easily. But like, why the air vent? I'm just curious.
You're right. I mean, if it had no intelligence, why would it be taking these routes? It would just go straight.
It seems like it would just go down the street.
Yeah.
Who cares?
or like try to hide or
That's
something.
what it seems like it's trying to hide.
But if he's trying to hide, he's hiding like a 3-year-old hides, where it thinks if I can't see them, they can't see me. Even though their little feet's
That's
under
exactly how a
It's
3-year-old
not
hides.
intelligent,
I can tell
John.
you.
Remember? So anyway, George is plunging this sink because it's clogged up with something. And he decides, well, the plunger's not working. I'll jam my fucking hand down there.
No, he pulls up part of the blob and he goes, "What is this?" And I get it. As
Wait,
someone,
does he jam his hand after he pulls up part of the blob?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
because then
okay.
it was like, as someone who's been a dishwasher, yeah, sometimes you got to stick your hand in gross ass shit. So he probably thought it was food like clumps.
Right.
So he's going to scoop it out, and the blob is having none of that.
Wouldn't it burn his finger, though?
That's my. It seems like he can
Does the blob
decide.
have a protective, like, bile coating that doesn't burn, but then inside of it is
Maybe
the...
the water helps.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true. He was wet.
and he
It
gets
grabs
sucked into the
him.
drain.
Yeah.
If you ever wondered if a man could fit in a drain, the answer is yes.
And it's like decompression, like suck through a hole the size of 4 inches. Like, it is insane how the blob pulls him and folds him into this drain. And I gotta admit, this is the moment I was like, I am 100% in on this movie.
The torque on this blob to get a man through a hole that size must be incredible.
It's inconsistent on the strength of the blob.
Yeah.
And the body would just shear itself. It wouldn't actually pull it and fold it up
think it
like a
depends
little
on
like
how hangry the
origami
blob
thing
is.
and pull it down there.
How hangry is the blob? That's how strong it's going to be.
Yeah, it's like an inverse relationship. I dig that.
But I love the fact they leaned into the goofy death horror aspect of it, the visual as opposed to the realism. Because man, when he's folded up and his like feet and his arms are sticking straight up out of the drain like a flower bouquet, I was like, and then Fran walks in and she's like, Judge! And I was like, holy shit. And there's like blood spurting. And I was like, damn, this is insane.
Headcanon / I think this might be the real canon. He's going through the drain because the blob is dissolving him. And we know it becomes liquefied. So he's not pulling a solid man through a drain. He's pulling a goo man through a drain.
I hear what you're saying, but as someone who's dissolved several human bodies before in the past, that's not how it works.
Oh, okay.
I like the headcanon, but just I want to make sure you don't go out there and say anything stupid at the next like body dissolving that you.
Well, yeah, I would. I mostly feed him the pigs, so I don't know.
Okay, there we go. The whole Hannibal route.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
I like it. I like
You
it.
got to go.
So everybody else in the diner, which is just Meg and Brian at this point.
Yeah.
Can we just call him Flag?
Flag.
if you'd
I've been
like.
calling. I call him flag
Okay.
in my head.
They run in and they're like, "Oh my god!" And they Brian's like, "Quick to the freezer!" And they run in there, and
Does it shoot up out of the drain like up into the ceiling at this point?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Yeah. These. Real quick before we get to the freezer thing, this was actually, and again, this is why I asked how they made the blob earlier because these are the coolest effects. It's like stop motion animation mixed with like this really cool reverse shot kind of like thing they do for the blob's movement. And when it shoots up out of the drain on the ceiling and kind of like moves around, it's such an amazing effect. I mean, and it's the 80s. It's like late 80s. And I was like, holy shit, like this is the time of Ewoks and crap, like this should not look this good.
Yeah, I think one of the things too is I don't know if it's this one of this scene or that. I know in the hospital when the thing comes off the ceiling, they actually filmed it backwards. So there's a lot of stuff here that they filmed backwards.
Okay.
Where they like sucked it in.
I wonder if there was some
or
reverse
threw
shot
it,
stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I think when the thing comes out his face out of the sink to hit his face, that's a reverse shot.
Oh, okay.
They had a stuntman like basically jump out.
Yeah, and there's a lot of miniature work too. I saw.
Yeah,
that
like
too.
The
Paul's
trucks and
death was a
stuff,
miniature.
yeah.
They made a little
So they use
miniature
all
Paul.
the tricks to like.
Oh, they use a little mini Paul?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So the waitress like hops out the window. She like breaks the window and goes straight for the phone booth. And my wife was like, "Wouldn't you run a little further away from the danger?" And I was like, "Yeah, that would have been smart."
Like she's trying to call the sheriff.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I don't. The thing that like I understand because
She
what
could
else?
walk 4 more feet and be at the sheriff's office.
I get what else are they gonna do, but when they shoot the blob with guns, I'm like, what are they? What are they accomplishing?
My favorite scene in this whole movie is the manhole scene.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they're all like, light them up. And they
Yeah.
just all start shooting guns at this manhole. And it's like, if there was ever a visual interpretation of pissing in the wind, this is it.
But she goes to the sheriff's and she calls and she's like, there's an emergency, get Sheriff Herb over here.
already there.
He's already on the way.
And the blob is encasing the phone booth at this point.
And we see poor dead Sheriff Herb press up against the phone booth door or
I
glass.
loved it. I was like, "Yes, he's already dead." I like that. I
Yeah.
appreciate you. Here's your old sheriff now,
Yeah.
lady. You ready to go on your date?
I'm looking for Herb. Oh, here he is.
Yeah. And then just the weight and force of that blob, the way it just crushes in on that phone booth and just engulfs poor Fran.
Yeah.
I just love it. I thought it was a fantastic scene.
The
So well
dummy,
done.
the dummy they used in that scene when it crushes in, the way it crumples and twists. Like, I don't think it was intended to do that. I think just the weight of the stuff, the way it pushed in and like messed up this like fake like mannequin thing was so gnarly looking.
Yeah.
Like her arm like twists up into her face, and I was like, oh god.
It looked extremely violent.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it adds to the whole like how everything going on. It's just intense.
Yes.
And there's potential hero number 2, dead.
Yep.
It's like, oh shit, all right.
Sheriff's gone. I thought Fran would make it, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, that's true, Fran. Another potential hero. It's really
Knocking them
Evil
out.
Dead Rise, The Blob, everyone's expendable.
dead,
right.
dead.
But while this is going on, Flag and Meg run into the freezer and lock themselves in, a la Jurassic Park. But the blob kind of starts working its way underneath the bottom of the door. Now, as someone who has worked with freezers, you don't have a gap in the bottom of your
No.
freezer.
No.
You lose heat.
Yep.
You lose cold.
Be the worst. It was the 80s freezers. They code wasn't created yet.
I'm
They
not
didn't
trying
know.
to cool the whole town here.
Same in the 50s because that's almost the same scene.
Oh, is it?
Not quite shot by shot, but that basically, the same scene as in the 50s.
Okay. Do they use cold to destroy the 50s one?
Yeah. Spoiler
Okay.
alert. Yeah.
30 years of freezer design. They still didn't figure
Can't
out.
fix the gap.
But it goes underneath and it kind of gets frostbit. And the Blob's like, nah, I'm good. This ain't my jam. And then leaves him alone.
It actually leaves some of itself there, frozen.
Oh, that's right.
crystallized.
Yeah.
I love the way it got crystallized. It actually looks like a crystal.
It looks like amethyst.
Yes.
And for some reason, the priest shows up.
He's wherever he needs to be.
Yeah.
Because the priest runs into it as after it leaves the freezer, it goes and crushes Fran, and then it goes and crawls into the sewer drain. And as it's crawling into the sewer drain, the priest sees it in the street, and he's like, "Oh, sweet merciful God, what have you bestowed upon us, oh Lord?" And then he goes inside to see if everyone's okay or what happened inside the diner because he saw that's where it came from, and that's where he finds a little piece of crystal, and he puts it in a little jar.
Yeah,
He's gonna take a souvenir home.
that priest must have been hanging on by a thread, like because he sees the Blob and just snaps. So I'm guessing he wasn't on firm footing.
He's a proto character of the Lady in the Mist.
Oh
There you
shit!
go.
Yeah,
Exactly.
especially at the end.
What
yeah.
Oh, you said a Frodo. I was like, I'm not making this connection. Okay.
Proto.
Frodo, gotcha.
And Frank Darabont did the Mist, so connection maybe.
I like it.
Possibly.
Darabont universe, yeah.
Yeah. Was there any priest business going on in the 50s one?
I don't recall a priest at all, and I really just watched the movie like last night again just to refresh myself. But no, I don't recall a priest at all.
Feels like it'd be too subversive for the 50s to.
Yeah, it was
have a
literally mostly
priest.
just cops, parents, and kids for the most part.
Okay, just add a little bit of that flavor, that Darabont flavor.
Yeah.
little razzle dazzle.
Flag and Meg are like, let's get the F out of here. Let's go. I got a bike. We can leave town. Let's just get the fuck out of here. And so they go to get the bike, and yeah, they end up in the woods. And as they're like getting the motorcycle, let me say a motorcycle, not a bike. It's like a Schwinn or anything like that. But they're getting that, and then like a helicopter flies over out of the the trees, and you think it's maybe something like coming to get them, but no, it's just the government is suddenly all over the place with bright lights. Like, how did you miss this? You're in the dark woods. But yeah, the government is there, and they're in white containment hazmat suits. And that's when we get introduced to Meadows, our head scientist person. I don't know what the fuck.
No, head scientist person. You got it.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
No, he when he's talking to them, he's like, "Hey, don't rough them up too bad." Talking to Megan and Flag, and he's like, "We're actually a government-sanctioned biological team. We're here to find out what has crash landed and figure it out, right?" And then he runs a whole story that, man, I absolutely love to picture in my mind. Is that, well, a meteor took out the dinosaurs, right? And I'm like, oh my god, can you imagine if we had a blob show up and eat all the dinosaurs?
I'd love that movie.
Okay, I thought that's what he was
Actually, there
going
you
for.
Yeah,
I thought that was his whole thing. I was like, yeah, maybe the dinosaurs didn't get killed. Maybe an alien monster got them.
yeah,
Was that what he was saying?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
More or less saying, like,
Yeah.
Blob ate all the dinosaurs.
you know what killed the
I
dinosaurs?
was like, wait a minute, Dr. Meadows. There wouldn't be any bones.
My note here says like, okay, I'm with you. I'd like to read more from your pamphlet.
Right. But he basically instructs that Brian and Meg have to go back to the town and be in quarantine, more or less.
Yeah, he's like, hey, just to be safe, because he's being a real nice guy. He's being like, hey, let's treat her with respect. Let's be cool. And then Flag is like, nah, fuck that. I'm out of here. And they try to leave. And then like a bunch of the scientists do like block them off and like, you're not going anywhere. Get in the van.
Yeah, he switches like, all right,
Yep.
nice didn't work. Well, now we're just gonna muscle
We
you
tried
in
the
there.
carrot. Now we try the stick. And so they get in the van and they're going to drive Meg and Flag back to the town. And as they're doing that, that's when Flag's like, I'm getting out of here. And she's like, we're just going back to the town. Calm down.
No, she's like, I have to go back. My brother and my family is still in the town.
But she's definitely being cool about this whole thing. She's like, yeah, we're going back to the town.
So
Flag-
cut to a movie theater.
yeah, this scene's so great. Go ahead.
No, go for it.
And Meg's brother and Meg's brother's Fred.
Eddie and whatever Meg's brother, Billy.
Billy, Loomis, I don't know.
Yes,
The kids,
sweet.
yeah.
The
Definitely
kids.
not. It's definitely not Billy.
The kids are at the movies and they're watching The Garden Killer or whatever. And I want to see this movie so bad.
These two kids it's a movie in a movie. These two kids are making out, and this woman's like, what's that guy doing over there? He's looking at us, and he's like trimming some hedges. And the guy's like, oh, he's just trimming hedges or something. Like, wait a second, he's wearing a hockey mask. It's not hockey season.
Please, more of that.
It is the worst like knockoff Friday the 13th you can imagine.
Yes, I want to watch that movie.
Yes.
Big time. And so there's some douchebag behind them, the kids, talking throughout the whole movie or whatever. And we see him just sort of get sucked up.
Hot Rod Tommy, basically the dude with the handlebar mustache and the
I was
baseball
gonna say,
cap,
like,
and he's
kinda
all like,
classic small town redneck. Kind
yeah, and he's all like, watch this, she's gonna get picked up by the monster. Oh man, she's gonna totally run in that room. And the kid's like annoyed, like turn around like, bro, could you be quiet? And he's like, shut the fuck up, little kid. And it's like, damn.
He's like Mr. T from Rocky. Like,
yeah. Come here, mama. Come on down here. I'll show you a real man.
I love that the other kid's wearing headphones too the whole time. So like, how does he
He's
hear this guy
listening singing to his headphones.
Yeah.
I mean, make your own soundtrack, I guess.
Maybe he's deaf and they never tell you in the movie because
He's ahead of the
got-
2-screen curve. He's got one thing listening to a podcast and he's watching.
He's listening to the
Oh,
GraveTalk
yeah,
podcast
there you
as
go.
he watches
Yeah.
Springtime Killer or whatever the name of the movie
there's
is.
your art right there.
Someone passed along a riff track, but back then it was on
Okay, yeah,
cassette
it's
tape.
cassette
So
tape,
yeah.
I think it's Eddie and Kevin
Eddie and Kevin. Okay, why
Sure.
not?
this whole time.
Kevin sounds right.
I'm glad you took the time to look that up.
That's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
real 80s name, so it works for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as that's happening inside the projection booth, the guy is up there like, man, it's sweltering up here. And is it hot in projection booths? I'm assuming it is, right?
It's got to be. You got that machine running. You got all the hot air coming out of that. Yeah.
The AC's broken, but you find out that the blob is in the AC vents, and it just totally fucks this guy up.
Poor
This
dude.
This is actor Frank Collison. He's also a character actor that
Yeah.
shows up in a lot of stuff. I know him from Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman.
Oh,
Classic
shit.
You
show.
would.
Classic.
Yeah.
Hey, my mom watched it every Saturday. I had no
All of our
choice but
moms
to watch
watched
it
it.
too.
What else was on at 4 o'clock in the afternoon?
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets wiped out by the blob.
And so then naturally the projector gets all fucked up. And
The film burns.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, film burn effect is one of the coolest effects ever still. When you see film burn on a screen,
Yeah.
it's so awesome looking.
I agree.
Shout outs Gremlins 2. Shout outs Gremlins 1. Shout outs The Blob.
And so the manager's like, the fucking projectionist. So he storms up in there, and a yo-yo falls from the ceiling. He looks up, and there's his projectionist all blobbed up to the ceiling.
Some real Brian Usna type, society
Yeah.
level melting
Oh,
person
yeah.
hanging from the ceiling. Like the Blob and him were shunting full on.
You were talking about shunting last episode. And yeah, with this one for sure. He's
I
getting
can't
shunted.
not get it out of my head. I
You
can't
can't
wait.
escape the shunt.
You
I
can't
can't wait
escape
to
it,
be
yeah.
part of a shunt. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, you're in luck.
Yeah, well, back-to-back shunting episodes because the manager gets shunted as well.
Can we just stop and take a moment and say shout out to yo-yos? You remember how fucking many yo-yo commercials were on in the 80s,
Love
early
the yo-yo.
90s?
Yeah.
Remember the Yo-Yo Man from the Smothers Brothers?
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
And I think you get a tape of like yo-yo professional, like how to be a real trick.
Do remember
artist.
that.
Hey, why, can I be like the wild yo-yo man? Why, can I be like the wild yo-yo man?
Yes,
Yeah.
that would be on where you can order, call 1-800 whatever.
Don't
And
forget the Key Simpsons yo-yo episode. That's a very
Hey,
big
question
one.
for our female listeners. If you were alive in the 80s
Are you into a man
and
with
you
yo-yos?
saw a guy rocking some yo-yo tricks, maybe he was walking the dog or doing the cat's cradle or whatever, did you just get instantly wet? Let us know, because if the yo-yo was that powerful, we need to bring it back.
If it wasn't yo-yos, it was magic tricks.
Maybe
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
sleight of hand.
I'm surprised yo-yo hasn't had a revival. We're going on 30 years, so the new, the Gen Z kids got to be
we just
discovering
had fidget
yo-yos.
spinners, so
Yeah.
maybe
I
I
yo-yos
think
are on the way
hacky sacks and yo-yos might be due.
back. Yeah.
Because yo-yo would, I bet, trend on TikTok for sure.
Who owns Duncan? Bring him back.
Oh yeah, those were the good ones.
So the Blob is now out of the projection booth and is now into the main theater because the redneck jerk who's basically talking to the movie is like, oh man, blah, blah, blah. He gets sucked up in the
Slurped.
ceiling and like gets killed. And then Kevin is like, holy shit. And everyone's just kind of oblivious around him. He starts running, but then at this point, the Blob falls from the ceiling. And this is the first time we see the Blob as a giant monster.
As a blob.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
we didn't mention, but it is growing.
Yeah.
Every
Yes.
time it kills, it gets bigger, it seems.
It gets
Yes.
bigger and it gets pinker and redder.
And angrier.
Yeah, and angrier.
And then it's just chaos. I mean, the blob is just wrecking fools.
It's flinging people with its blob tentacles.
I love when Meg actually shows up or somebody comes by in the theater and she like lifts up a woman on the ground and she just like is melted ooze.
yeah, it's Meg. Yeah, because
Yeah.
Meg.
She's looking for her brother. Yeah.
Yeah, she gets back to while this is all happening, Meg gets back to the town with the science people, and they had like corralled everybody.
And Flag has escaped on the trip there.
Right. And she meets her parents, and they're like, oh, what about Ed? And he's like, oh, I thought he's staying at Kevin's house. And Kevin's parents naturally are 2 feet away, goes, I thought Kevin was staying at Ed's house. And they're like, oh, the fucking movie. So they go to the one of the scientists, and the dad's like, I'm a taxpayer. You better go find my kid. And he's like, we're working on it. calm the fuck down. Meg is like, I'm gonna skedaddle 2 times in one episode.
Dude, I'm so spoiled.
And she beelines to the movie theater just as this shit hits the fan. She finds the half melted lady.
Honestly, one of the best effects in the whole movie when she like lifts that person up and they just stick to the floor.
Excellent.
Like gum on the bottom of your shoe.
Or like grilled cheese when
There
you
you
try
go.
to pull the bread apart.
A lot of cheese reference in this. A lot of melted cheese in this.
Turns out I'm a blob who likes cheese.
Yeah, aren't we all?
So at this point, the Blob is full on monster mode at this point, and she's like, "Where's Kevin? Where's Kevin?" And I think at this point she finds Kevin, and they run out the back, and the Blob is chasing them, and they end up going to the sewers.
Yes. Well, Kevin gets stuck, like the winner that he is. He gets his jacket stuck on a door.
Yes, because earlier his jacket was having trouble unzipping. So as they close the door behind him, the jacket gets caught. Have you ever got your jacket caught in a door before?
No.
Yeah, I think it's Eddie because there's a whole scene where Eddie's mom, while on Valium, says,
Eddie,
"Put on your jacket."
Oh, it's Eddie.
It's
the kid.
October.
I can't remember which one's the fuck.
Yeah, I don't know who's the brother.
Eddie is Meg's brother.
Okay.
So it's Eddie.
Then Eddie, yes.
And they can't get this zipper down. And I'm like, kid, just pull your arms through the sleeves and go underneath your fucking jacket. Like, you don't need the zipper. There's so many options.
This was really cool though because the Blob is like pushing on the metal door, and
Yes.
it's like pushing out the screws and the hinge. It's also like kind of oozing
Coming from
under
the
the bottom, and yeah, it's a really creepy moment.
But they get the jacket off and they escape just as just as
Bob Dylan burst through the door.
the Blob burst
Blob
through.
Dylan.
Blob Dylan. I'd buy his albums.
Bill Murray's What About Blob?
Ooh. And then, yes, they chase into this. They go into the sewers, as you do.
Everything ends in the sewers in the 80s.
Big
we
time.
always have to go in the sewers, man.
Chuds,
It made me think that there was a place in my town where I could just go to the sewers and hang out.
yeah.
Do you think the acidic wash in Jason Goes to Manhattan is actually a diluted version of the Blob?
There you go.
Perhaps.
How's that for some fucking headcanon, John?
Love
Suck it.
That's crossover headcanon. That's
There
2
you go.
points.
It's a Blobiverse.
That is
yeah.
quite the travel distance for Blob to go to California to Manhattan, though.
Yeah, it
The
might be
sewer
able
system
to.
across America is fantastic.
It's just one big pipe.
Yeah. Sewers across America. It's a whole thing in the 80s.
So now they're getting chased through the sewers, and it's this whole like kind of cat and mouse type situation, and they're trying to escape. And up on the streets, Meadows has decided, okay. They pull up the meteorite. It's actually a satellite, and he spills the whole beans. He's like, "We sent this bacteria into space. It came back. It's smarter. It's intelligent, just as we thought. Space made it awesome. We're gonna win the arms race with Russia now."
This is literally the Fantastic Five member. This
Yes.
is part of the Fantastic Four that never made it home.
Hit by gamma rays.
The
And
Thing, the Blob.
This is the burst where the coronavirus is what it is.
Well, Mark, I don't want to get too
Fauci.
technical, but technically, Victor Doom was with them, so he would be the 5th member if he had joined. So this would be the
Sixth.
6th.
Fantastic Six.
Yeah.
Got it.
You just got nerded by Garrett.
I almost said Randall Flagg. That's from the stand. Flagg came back to the town. He had second thoughts. He's like, and then he hears
because he heard he heard
hears
this in the
all
woods,
this, yeah. And he's like, fuck, I better go get Meg.
The government did this. They fucked us over. They're responsible. And the thing is, they hear him as he's dropping, and they're like, Meadows is like, get that guy. He's been infected. Clearly using that as an excuse just to get this guy like put in custody or killed. And so he's going to go back and try to let everybody know, like, we got to save the city because the government did this to us. I don't know what he thinks is going to happen. Everyone's going to be like, oh yeah, let's kill the government.
Yeah,
But
he doesn't really have a plan, but also as a 17-year-old, I get it. Like,
He
They're
feels
not
the
known for
obligation because he now knows that it's not a natural phenomenon to go rescue Meg. So he's on his way back. At the same time, Meadows is like, okay, you know what? We're going to call this town a wash. Seal up the sewers. We're going to trap this experiment because this is the whole point.
yeah, the sewer system conveniently has 3 valves that they could turn off that apparently seal off the whole sewer, as you do.
Some real Resident Evil level thinking.
Yeah, I was going to say that if that were a video game, there's your next mission. You got to go turn off all the valves.
Yeah.
Right.
And he says, like, anybody trapped in the sewers is expendable at this point. So Flag's like, I got to rescue Meg. So he finds out she's in the sewers. They're cat and mousing with the Blob. The Blob starts killing some of the government guys. They go down there to like kind of quarantine it, like block off the valves.
Yeah.
And as they're trying to escape, there's in a big room with a water well or something like
Yeah,
that. And
something
they
weird
get
like that.
Kevin out. Or Eddie. Eddie gets out.
Eddie gets
and she's
out.
like, Eddie, go run for help. And he's like, I can't leave you. She's like, go, motherfucker, go. And so he runs
reverse
off.
it. He crawls out of a storm drain. And
Yep. And then she just lets go and falls back into the water. But the government has kind of distracted the blob by shooting at it with guns, which you think they'd know better.
Eddie gets murked. He just gets
Yeah, I was
totally
gonna say,
eaten
like,
by the blob.
Kevin.
One of the best.
Or
One of the best
Kevin.
scenes.
The blonde dickhead with the headphones.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
They're wading in this filthy water in the sewer, and they come by a little piece of wood that's got a rat on it going, me, 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 me. And they're like, oh, rat. Look, check out that rat.
Is it a rat or roadrunner?
All right, shut up. My rat and Roadrunner sounds the same. So they pass by, and as they're looking for a way out, they see the rat vanish, and almost like the blob is just going through the water at like 30 miles an hour. And they're like, oh my God, it's the blob. And that's when it gets Eddie. And they're like swimming around in the water trying to find Eddie, and he pops up like a ghoul, like
So good.
You keep switching the names, and I'm so confused which kid
You're
it is,
right,
but
sorry.
that's fine.
One of the kids gets killed.
Yeah,
That's the point.
The blonde kid with the
Kevin.
headphones. Yeah.
Kevin pops out of the water all ghoul style because he's been dissolved by the blob.
This is like poltergeist level scary. Like
Yeah.
this effect. Like honestly, I was dozing off halfway through, but I was awake instantly when I saw this, and I was like, oh fuck no, that's gonna infect my brain.
And I was like, you did it, movie. You killed
Yeah.
a kid. You killed a kid in the 80s. I'm proud of you.
Yes.
Way to go.
And then that's when Eddie escapes to go to City Hall. And then the blob at some point gets Meg's hair and starts like
Yes.
dissolving her hair.
As they were going into the store. This
Yeah.
happens.
Oh, okay. So irrelevant. That's in the past.
But out of nowhere, Flag is in the sewer with his motorcycle, and he's like,
Yep.
Meg, get on. We're getting out of here. And she's like, all right, Brian, let's do this. And so now we have some amazing, and we'll get back to some in just a second, but like we had this amazing, like kind of escape the sewer scene
Yep.
where Flag is on his motorcycle riding the walls to get around the blob. Meg is like got her arms wrapped around him, and he kind of looks down like, yeah, lady touch. And I was like, bro, this is not the time. But they get to a dead end, and there's one government agent, and they basically are going to go up this manhole. And as they're about to escape the sewers,
And
that's
the agent
when,
is just hysterical. Like
Yes.
he's useless at this
Yeah.
point. He should have been prepped. Hey, you're gonna go fight a giant pink blob thingy.
my God, it's bigger than we thought. I don't know what we're going to do. It's unstoppable.
They armed this weakling with a fucking bazooka. You think he would know how to use it?
Are you saying a government employee is useless in this situation?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It just didn't add up. It's like, here, your second day on the job, have the bazooka. Like,
He's
what?
like, if you haven't been keeping track, man, we're getting our ass kicked out there.
Game over, man. Game over. But so anyway, they're climbing up this manhole, and at the top of the manhole in the street, Meadow is like, you know what? They're all expendable. Let's go ahead and close it up. And then Flag is like, you can't do this, man. You're crazy. Don't do it. And they put the manhole cover. They park a truck right over the manhole top to keep it from being opened.
Yeah.
I do love how Brian Flag runs up to it and hits it with his hand like, it's not opening. It's like, yeah, no shit, bro. If you didn't have a truck on top of it, you still wouldn't be able to open it like that.
Right. And Meadows' second in command, who's like the military wing of this, and Meadows is the scientist wing of this whole operation. He's like, but I got a man down there. He's like, so?
Yeah.
It's like, all right, then.
Meadows becomes a real kind of villain at this
Yeah.
point. The change with Meadows is really interesting. I enjoyed that.
Well, you know what I always say? Scientists are evil. So,
That's why I'm calling him Dr. Fauci.
yes.
So the blob is starting to catch up to him in the sewer. Government agent guy's like, oh no, what are we going to do? And then Flag goes, hey, you got a bazooka. Cool. Aims it up the pipe, shoots the manhole cover.
Well,
blows
he yells at Meadows from down there. He's like, hey, Meadows, stick this up your ass or something like that, and fires off the bazooka. I was like, how would Meadows hear him down
the
there?
only part of the movie that I was like, wait, that doesn't make
Well, they
sense.
had the walkie-talkie thing because remember
Oh,
the
yeah,
government
yeah,
guy. He's
that's
using,
right,
he's using
right,
that guy's because the government guy forgot how to use his walkie as well.
Yeah, right.
So Flag grabs it. He's like, stick it up your ass, baby, or whatever he says. Blows the manhole cover, blows the truck up top. Everyone's like kind of falls backwards up on the streets. Meg and Flag run up the pipeline now.
Yeah, they climb. But I got to say, I don't think you can use a bazooka with one hand. He just sort of one hand puts it out to his side and it totally works. I was like,
USA,
But you know what?
USA.
It looked cooler that way.
it
So
did look cooler that way. But I was like, you probably hurt your shoulder pretty bad, bro.
Also,
he's
it's
about to die anyway.
It's also a pocket bazooka. It's not like the full over the shoulder
True.
bazooka, you know.
I love a
still,
good pocket bazooka.
Probably at least a two-hand operation. That's all I'm saying.
Most likely.
Well, he's around the corner and he's kind of like got it like
Yes.
through the doorway, like I don't want to see it. But anyway, they climb up out of the Meg and Flag climb up out of the hole, and as they get up top, Meadows is getting up and he's like, "That guy's infected. Shoot him." And the government's like, "I don't know if I want to shoot him."
And out from the corner comes Officer Bill.
Yeah.
The one that had history with Flag.
And he's like, freeze,
And he's
Brian.
good at Flag. Yeah, he's like, I'll shoot you dead if you fucking move, more or less. And he's like, it's not me. Let me tell you a story.
Listen to me, Briggs. Think for a minute. Do you suppose an army of guys in plastic suits show up every time a meteor falls? Shoot him. That's a direct order. How do you think they got here so quick? How did they even know when to come? Shoot, damn it, shoot! I'll tell you how. That meteor is man-made. It's some kind of a germ warfare test. They fucked up. Don't try it.
They made it happen. And he turns and points the gun at Meadows, and he's like, okay. And that's
Just a good example of how fast misinformation can spread in small towns.
Exactly.
And then things go wrong because of poor trigger discipline. So the blob wraps its little blob tentacle around one of the soldiers, who then just starts shooting wildly, clips with the deputy, right?
and shoots his like hat off or something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And he gets dragged down in the manhole cover and is now blob food.
And is Garrett's favorite kill.
Yes, Meadows gets the machine gun. It's like he's using it as like a brace to keep himself from falling down the hole, and it just gets a little yank, and he just like it's so rad. But at this point, everyone's like, okay, we can't stop this thing. It's starting to rumble the ground. It's getting so big, it busts out of the ground, and now we get our classic run away from the giant gelatinous monster scenes that everyone thinks of when they think of the Blob.
And the worst mat work in the whole movie.
I can't hold that against them too much because it was the 80s, but again, it was so jarring because the effects of this monster are so like modern times.
I wonder, my only thought, and I don't know, maybe like Mark or Leroy, you know, like, is this meant to be like an homage to the 50s? Because it looked so out of place and like obviously bad compared to all of the other effects of the movie. Or did they just run out of money and they're like, fuck it, backlight it? Like,
My understanding is that they shot a lot of this movie pretty quickly, and then I think they also had like a limited time because they wanted to put it out in summer, and they didn't wrap up filming until like May.
Oof.
So they only had like so much.
that's
Yeah, I
so
know.
quick.
They only had so much time to put it together, and I think it's just like a result. Like it's the end of the movie, the compositing's not that good. They kind of ran out of time. I'm sure. Like if it gets a remastered treatment, that'll be fixed up and look amazing. But
yeah, because oof, it stands out.
yeah, even on my it very stands out. Even on our modern screens, it definitely stands out more. I don't know how it was back then, but yeah.
So to help wrap this up, basically what happens is as everyone's running around, Meg grabs a fire extinguisher and shoots it at the Blob, and it's like, ooh, it's cold. I don't like that. And so everyone's like, we got to kill it with cold. So as the Blob is chasing them into the city hall, they're all barricading themselves inside. It's kind of wrapping itself around the building, Ghostbusters 2 style. And they sing a song. Statue of Liberty comes
Yeah.
up. No, what happens is
It's amazing the Blob did this first, and then they just totally copied it a year later.
Dude, everyone's
No one saw
fighting
it,
on the
so, you
Blob,
know.
man.
Good point. Yeah, no one saw it. They're like, we'll just do that again.
Yeah.
So Flag has stolen one of the snowblower, slow machine, whatever things they are, and driven it up and is spraying it at the Blob. The Blob's like, all right, I'm going to mess you up. Flips the truck over, and the tanks with nitrous. Is it nitrous or?
I think so.
Whatever
What's the
makes
stuff that-
cold.
Yeah.
CO2. I don't know.
Sure, whatever.
CO2 is what's in the fire
nitrogen,
extinguisher.
liquid nitrogen, liquid
yeah,
nitrogen.
there you go.
There's tanks of it, and so as Flag is getting encased in his truck and about to get killed by the Blob, Meg runs out and is like, "I'm going to basically get him to eat this tank. That'll freeze him. Bada bing, bada boom. We win."
My favorite scene in the movies is when she's like, yeah, I did good.
She
and then
trips?
Yep. Falls over and is just hanging off the fucking tank.
He's like, eat this, and then
And it's not like one of those like Hollywood like, whoa, I'm gonna fall. It's like basically like, whoop, she's down. She's down, no pomp and circumstance. And so it's basically gonna move its way over and eat her, but she's stuck. Well, Flag gets out of the car, grabs her, boom, the thing blows up, freezes the Blob, it explodes into like crystals. And at this point, it's like just piles of crystals in the middle of the street.
it's a dead Blob.
And I love that one of the townsfolk, just like some no-name guy, comes over. He's like, "We better get it in the freezer quick."
That's the guy who owns the shop.
Oh, was that Moss?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
Moss.
so it's Moss, the guy who gave him
He's
the
like, we better
ratchet
get to the
set.
freezer before it thaws out. And I was like, yeah, what happens when it does thaw out? Like,
That
what
was
are you
my
guys going to
question.
do with this?
Well, they
What
just-
happens now?
Keep it in the freezer at all times, I guess.
Yeah, you can't kill the Blob. It has to stay for. You can only stop it. You can't kill it.
Yeah.
There's no finite method to get rid of the Blob.
Transformer style, you drop it into the Marianas Trench and just hope that gets the job done.
Except that it'll probably start eating all the fish and everything. It's faster in water, I would say.
Oh, that's
probably.
true.
It soaks into the Earth's mantle.
Yeah.
Cracks it.
Oh yeah, what if you just
Seismic
shoot it in
activity.
the space? It's where it came from.
Yeah,
get
it's
out of
true.
here.
It's
That's
Jupiter's
what
problem
We
now.
need to put a wall around the Earth to keep
Yes,
the blob out.
Build the wall. That's what I've been saying.
Jesus Christ, you guys.
So heat has no effect on it, right?
No, it loves
No.
heat.
We've seen fire, like flamethrowers and stuff, get
We've
shot
seen
at by the
fire. We've
military.
seen rain. We've seen better day. No, what?
Earth, wind, fire, nothing.
By the power of September, we
Yeah.
will stop the blob.
Yeah.
It could be music.
Oh,
It could be like Mars Attacks.
yeah.
It could be like
Yodeling.
Ghostbusters too.
Well, that weakens it. Doesn't stop it though.
Oh,
So they make a key point. I'm going to jump to the 50s film real quick, where they have to freeze it, to stop it. Basically, they realize it's cold makes it, slows it down, and then to the point where it stops it. The movie in the 50s ends with like a voiceover of Steve McQueen saying, "Oh, they're going to ship it to Antarctica and keep it there." Literally, that's the plan. Just going to lift the whole thing, put it in Antarctica, and he's just like, "Well, hopefully Antarctica stays cold."
Yeah, global warming really ruined-
and then
global
Kurt
warming.
Russell's team finds it under the ground. That's 3 crossovers
Exactly,
in one
right.
episode.
It's the Blobiverse, yeah.
3 feet over is where the blob was hiding out under ice.
They just missed it. It was trying to get to that spaceship.
Yeah.
The movie ends with we get a tent revival with our priest.
Okay, so wait a minute. Did I miss something? That just cuts, right?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
like,
just
let's
cuts
get
to
in the
it.
freezer, and then we cut to this scene in the middle of like the wheat field and
Yeah.
a tent revival.
Yeah, which important to note slightly is that the priest gets set on fire at one point.
As you say, hard cut to
Yeah, okay.
Tent.
Yeah.
Yeah, where we got our burnt up priest who is now given one like a real old school fire and brimstone sermon
The
of
time of judgment is coming soon.
It's the saints and the sinners are all gonna get fucked. So like I don't know what he's really trying to tell them. He's like only the people who believe might die less painfully.
more or less, yeah.
I hated revival week when it rolled into town, dude. It meant that I might have to go to church every day.
Wait, that's a real thing? Like,
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not
a real
kidding.
thing.
I was
That was
like
a movie thing.
My parents threatened to take me to church every single day when revival week happened every year, and I was like, no.
And look
please,
how you
God,
turned
no.
out.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Catholics do revival week, so I missed all that.
So
Yeah, they
what
don't.
happens if you don't believe and they make you go? Like if you just talk shit the whole time, do they like turn the other cheek and
You're gonna end up
be
like the
polite, or
priest.
do they actually like
I guess I could have been a real Brian Flag about it, but
Yeah,
you
about
know,
to
I never
say.
did.
be like God is dead? You know, boo, get off the stage.
That kid's wearing a leather
you
jacket.
would think that would not go like
Tell you what, why don't you end this and come back in 3 days? You know,
I mean, I guess it depends on your parents, but mostly they double down. Then you just
Yeah.
get more religion. You go to camps, and you're a project
That's
now.
when the crack starts showing, though.
They really bring out the bullwhips at
Yeah.
that point. Fix this, save
The
this,
3 nails.
save this boy's soul.
Yeah, your best bet is just stay quiet and power through.
So at this revival, he goes back into the back of the tent, and this old woman shows up, and she's like, Reverend, you keep talking about the end time. When is it going to happen? When's Rapture Day? And he goes, soon, my pretty, soon. And he holds up a little jar full of blob that's actually moving around.
Yep.
It's the blob he got from the freezer.
Yep, and he's
Exactly.
going to unleash hell
Yep.
on Earth.
Or he's just keeping a little pet blob, Maybe he just thinks it's cute.
Oh, no, I think he's like,
No,
when I get a
he-
sign, I'm going to release this motherfucker.
He definitely
Now,
is.
was the Son of the Blob, or Beware the Blob, Son of the Blob, the 50s sequel, or was it an 80s sequel?
Beware the Blob was a sequel in the 70s. I think maybe the 68.
Okay.
The kid was
So
before
this
the
movie
50s.
never got a legit
This movie never got a sequel.
Okay.
There was no plans for a sequel. They honestly just ended it like that. There was
Wow.
Darabont has said like, oh, we didn't plan to really make a sequel. If it made money, they would, but they wanted to finish up other things they were doing, and obviously didn't do well.
Well, at that point, they had also had Nightmare on Elm Street and
Yeah,
shit,
Nightmare
kicking up
3,
huge. I
other
mean,
things,
they
yeah.
had other focuses.
Yeah,
Beware the Blob came out in 1972.
there you go.
Okay.
I would actually like to see somebody make a sequel to this.
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't had a blob movie in a while.
So it's funny because there was talks of doing a remake, but it was going to be a Rob Zombie remake, of course.
Are you serious?
I'm
Rob Zombie's going
serious.
to redo the Blob?
Rob Zombie was going to do a Rob Zombie remake of The Blob.
Fuck yes.
With-
yes.
Sherry Moon plays the blob.
Sherry
I'm fine with that. I don't give a shit, man. Could you imagine how wild and insane that would look? A fucking Rob Zombie.
There was going to be like a kind of like a end of Shin Godzilla thing where there would be blob humanoid suddenly versus blob monster, and then of course
What?
Sherry Moon is going to be the hero who like stops them.
I just like to picture her in her big blob suit. Just
She's in a pink trash bag.
She'd be the badass.
Arr.
And I think in there, he had done like so many Halloweens at this point that he was kind of burnt out on remakes.
Yeah.
So he was like, nah, and then did his own thing.
He did
And,
2 of them.
Yeah, he had done 2 of them. They, they didn't get well received we don't recall. But
Well, the first one did pretty good.
the first one did
The
good.
second one
The
was
second
not
people
so
hated.
hot.
Weird. Yeah, I didn't
People
like
hated
it.
it.
People did not care for the Sherry Moon with a horse in the street mom shit.
His Halloween is still my favorite, so you know.
Well,
Wait, Rob Zombie's Halloween is still your favorite out of all the Halloweens?
Hell yeah.
wow.
Gee, why is this not at the beginning of our episode? That is insane. We should have just talked about that for 2 hours.
I love that movie.
Just like the 80s Blob, we just brought you back into the episode.
That's
I mean, the
intense.
rest.
I know.
I think the Halloween probably has one of the lower hits to misses like ratios out of any of the major franchises.
That's actually a fair statement.
That's pretty legit.
So it's not like there's a lot of comp. It's like, you know,
I don't know,
Rob
Children of the
Zombies.
Corn, you're just talking
well,
about
yeah, I mean,
that.
that's got the worst.
Does that have any hits?
No, zero.
Zero hits.
You didn't like the first Children of the Corn?
No, go watch it. It's boring. Look,
No, I know.
John will
I
do a
have.
quickie, so you know.
it's coming up. But yeah, Linda Hamilton's, you know, it's cool to see her young and breaking it. Other than that, though, it is so boring.
Okay, all right, I got you.
But Rob Zombie dropped it, and then I think it's just been in like development hell, and like no one's picked it up. There's talk of I think the director who was signed on like 2015 died recently.
Waited so long to make
waited
this movie.
so long, and he died recently. So it's like now at this point, I think there's like a lawsuit of who owns the rights now. It's just
Oh,
like,
jeez.
we'll see. I mean,
It's going to be a Tubi series.
exactly.
You watch.
We've got 5 years until 28. You know, that'll be 30 years from the last Blob. Oh no, yeah, 30 years. So
We're ripe for more Blob.
exactly.
Well, I love this movie. I've seen it twice in a month, and I would rate it 4.5 stars.
4.5.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's like a perfect drive-in movie. It's a perfect popcorn movie.
Yeah, for the second time this month, I'm with Mark. I'm not full 4.5. I'd probably go 4, but I also really, really enjoyed this movie.
Okay. I'm putting it at 3.5. I can't go quite that high because there's still a lot of like, you know, plot problems and just, you know, lack of, you know, real substance for me there. But I thought this movie was going to feel so long based off the first like 10 minutes of it. Boom, it flies by. It's so good. Like, I mean, it's really enjoyable, but I can't like, again, I save 4 and 5 star movies for like classic, well-written, breathtaking films. And so I'm not going to throw it up in that route, but this is a fantastic movie.
Yeah. I'm with Garrett. I give it a 3.5 as well. I'm leaning towards 4, but I feel like it's not quite perfect enough for me. Close enough to a 4, but not quite. But it is a perfect like late night movie, like you're saying.
Yeah. I think I'm also just really susceptible to those outer space meteor movies. I love the stuff.
You love the drive-in
Blob.
flicks, dude.
That's true.
I love Slither.
Giant monsters, like you love that shit.
Yeah. I
And
love that
there's
shit too.
no shame in that game, man. Love what you love, but yeah, for me, I just couldn't go that high.
Yeah, I feel like of the list of movies you just listed, I feel like this isn't even the strongest of those movies.
Night of the Creeps.
That's a great movie.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, that movie's actually pretty slow.
Yeah.
I love Night of the Creeps, but that movie is pretty slow. I mean, I would actually recommend this movie over Night of the Creeps as a, hey, you should, it's a really good movie. Now, if I'm recommending something I think you're going to have more fun with, thrill me.
And we can't not mention the final song that plays over the credits. My God, what a banger.
Oh, do you know the title of that song, Mark?
What is it?
It's called Brave New Love by the band Alien. It's shit, dude. It's
I love it.
such a fucking crappy 80s hair metal song, but it's not even like the lyrics are so bad in that song.
It's 80s schlock, and I love it.
It was, yeah.
It fits really well with the pink text over the black
Yeah.
screen and stuff. I mean, again, I had fun with that end song, but that song is you said that it's a banger, and I was like, oh, okay, all right. We gotta. My sister's a werewolf, you know, like Lon
Yeah.
Chaney.
And it's so bad it's good way, not in like, oh, I'm going to go buy this right now on iTunes way.
But there
I did
is
not know.
There is a Blob song,
Yeah,
right?
the 50s
Yeah.
movie has the Blob song that we all know, the Beware the Blob, and it's funny because I feel like that's the better song, obviously, of the two movies.
I'm not going to
it's-
argue with you.
It's
I-
your
you know.
it's your favorite kind of song when it tells the story of the
Yeah.
movie
Yeah,
in song.
it was before rap, but yes, I love a good recap
If
story.
only we
song.
had a rap version of the Blob song. Or
If only Sammy Davis Jr. had come out and be like, "Pay attention, you groovy cats."
I'm surprised 88 was prime time
Yeah, it was a good
golden
year for
age
rap.
hip hop. Yeah, and where they would have done this kind of
Yeah,
shit.
but we weren't really getting movie recap. That was early '90s when we
Yeah,
started getting
that's
like
true.
Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. It wasn't until like
when was the
hip-hop
Freddy Freddie rap.
Freddie rap was early 90s. That was
Early 90s,
or late
yeah.
late 80s, like 89. It was Fresh Prince, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Nightmare on My Street.
Yeah, so that would have been 88.
That wasn't
right
a movie
before.
recap, but yes, it was along that.
They could have had a Blob rap, man. Really.
They
It
could
was
have.
also an unlicensed recap. To
Yes,
be fair,
exactly.
so-
True.
And that was actually an original story. They
Yes.
came to his neighborhood. It wasn't a
Exactly.
retelling of the movie.
Yeah. And if you
Didn't the-
recall, he slapped Freddy just like no.
As you do.
Didn't the Fat Boys do a horror movie rap too?
They did.
They did.
did,
They
yes.
did. And that was actually mid 80s. So,
Yeah, they missed out. A real opportunity.
Also unlicensed.
well, they ran out of money and time, guys.
yeah.
Exactly.
They're like,
Well,
LL, what are you up to? He was
someone
like, don't
couldn't
call
write a
me. Lose
rap.
my number. Until you're making a movie about a shark, lose my number.
It would have been some group of people that, it would not have been LL. It would have been some offshoot that we never heard about who
Blob
did,
said knock
One
you
person
out.
with like
Partners
one
in
credit.
Crime
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, but,
I think they're on the Ninja Turtle soundtrack.
B to the L to the O to the B. Like that's how they rap back then. So
Well, it sounds like 4 recommendations at the table.
Definitely.
I would recommend it, but only because the scene where he is running away from the government, jumps over the bridge, makes it this time, a truck flips upside down, a helicopter's right behind him, it's nighttime, there's an explosion, and he leans back to the camera and flips him off.
loved it.
We didn't even talk about that scene, but when that played out, I was like, oh, I want to know how much this shot alone cost.
Enough.
8 million of their 10 million
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah, definitely recommend this movie.
Any other lingering thoughts? Any gelatinous ideas in your head that are oozing out of your mouth?
I'll
before we
share
go?
this actually. That's really fun. So the scene where everyone runs out of the theater in the 50s one, to circle back, there literally is like 5 minutes of Blob footage in the original 50s movie. And that's going to be when it lands, the theater scene, and then towards the end. At that theater they filmed at, the 50s one, they do a Blob Fest every year. They're actually going coming up. So hopefully GraveTalk makes it out there for a road trip.
That sounds pretty cool.
Is that in
yeah.
Louisiana or where'd they film it?
That's in Pennsylvania, I think.
Oh.
So kind of a farther drive.
It's out of our travel budget, I think.
have 2 kids, Leroy.
That's true. Yeah, I'm gonna fund the trip with these children. But yeah, so Blob Fest is coming up. Apparently they show the original movie and then everyone runs out of the theater just like in the movie, and they have like vendors and stuff. And
That's
apparently
cool.
it's supposed to be a fun thing. So
You know, it'd be cool. You know, those hamster balls that people can get in? I want to blob one of those.
Blob ball,
Yeah.
All right. Well, that sounds fun. Well, Leroy, thank you again for joining us. It's been a while. We'll see when we can get you back. Maybe we'll let you pick a movie this time.
yeah, I'm glad to be back. We've listened to a lot of your podcasts while driving these babies around to get them to nap. And they would nap. So putting babies to sleep.
That's what we're known for. GraveTalk, right to sleep. Yeah, what's the opposite of thrill me? That's what we do.
Bore me.
Yes.
All right. Well, Garrett, what do we got coming up next time?
Our next flick is a John choice.
Oh, so it's a good one.
So I don't know if it's necessarily a horror flick, but I guess you could drop it in that pantheon. We're doing American Psycho,
Oh, hell yeah.
the Christian Bale vehicle.
It's a slasher film.
It definitely got some slasher-esque to it. You
I'm
know,
going to listen to a lot of.
Huey Lewis in the News.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But only his early stuff, or their early stuff, I should say.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Okay. Looking forward to that. I haven't seen it in a while.
But anyway, so the next episode is American Psycho, and after that, we will probably be doing Insidious 5.
Oh, boy.
The Red Door. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, 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 dun.
Guess I have to watch Insidious 2 through 4 now.
I will be dressing up as Tiny Tim, and I will bring my ukulele.
I'm looking forward to it. All right. Well, listeners, have you seen The Blob? Why don't you let us know what you think about it on our social medias? We got a Instagram, a Twitter, and a Facebook. You can find everything we're up to at thegravetalk.com. Do you have any recommendations or cold open ideas? We're happy to hear from you. Let us know. Until then, get American Psycho watched, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.